Hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. How are y'all doing? y'all having a good time? Y'all enjoy my musical rendition, Clanker's Cavern. Banjo-Kazooie OST is so good. It's a gorillion years later, and there's still nothing better. Music has failed to do anything better than the Banjo-Kazooie soundtrack. Cute slime update. Breaking news. Cute slime update. Yeah, so I added. Yeah, I went back and just like added ears to it since my little blorbular, my little slimular blorb has the little floppy ears, and I was like, well, I gotta work that in somewhere. I gotta get the floppies in. I can't have not floppies. They gotta have the flop. You gotta have the floppies. You gotta have these floppies. You gotta have these floppies. So gotta have the floppies. I need to make my own brand of cereal and then have the commercial be like, gotta have my floppies. That feel when your mom won't let you have floppies. Kill your parents. Get your floppies. Anyway. I don't know what I'm doing. I never know what I'm doing. So welcome to the stream. The book that we had last time, the Tiny Nightmares anthology, I had to give that back to the library. So I do not have that anymore, but I'll go back and I'll check it out at some point. But I was going through my library, I was going through my shelf this morning thinking, okay, what do I want to stream today? What do I want to do for Read Stream? And I have been collecting like other weird fiction authors, and this particular one is Clark Ashton Smith. And he was in that kind of like Lovecraft circle of other writers along with like, or at least like vaguely connected to. Because like I've also picked up Thomas Ligotti, who was very much inspired by Lovecraft. And then we also got Algernon Blackwood, who has the most, like, gothic sounding name I have ever heard in my entire life. Like, that dude 100% lives in a fucking castle. But I got him too. So I have a couple others on my shelf, and I was like, well, let's check this one out. And after reading, like, the first story, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is cool. I like this. I can have some fun with this. So that's what we're doing today. In another bit of good news, some hold on a second. I should have brought this up as a soundbite before I started. Can I just get... Yeah, here we go. Whoops. Wait. No. Dang it.
Yes, I see. Good news, everyone.
Good news, everyone. So we are now officially, and I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna zoom in for this. We are now officially at over 50 followers on this Twitch account now. We have 53 followers. Wait for it. Oh, come on now. You're ruining the timing of my bit. Come on. It's just a video of applause. Thank you. There we go. So, we have 50 followers. And, so, what that means is that all I need to do now is just stream consistently for like a week or two, for like the rest of this month maybe, and we can get that sweet associate status, which means then we can start getting like emotes and stuff. I was already streaming pretty consistently, like, you know, a few months back, and I would have qualified for it then, but I didn't have the 50 followers at the time. So now that we have the big number, I just gotta keep doing what I'm doing, and then we can get all the fun Twitch perks. Number gone up. I must be the most number go uppiest slime that has ever twitched. That's exactly how I should phrase it. And as before, and no one is required to do this. It is just there if y'all want to do so at the kindness of your own hearts. Oops, almost hit my, whoops. The Goop Fund is still up here. There will be a funny little thing that happens if we reach $10. But like I said, do not worry about it. That's just there. That's just there. So, I don't think I have any other house cleaning to do. I don't think I have anything else to really talk about. I think we're probably just going to go ahead and jump right into it, because, not going to lie, kind of excited for this one, because I read the first story, and I was like, I like this. This sounds pretty good. This rolls off the tongue real nice. For like old-timey weird fiction, it comes across very eloquently, and not like 500 words to just like 500 gorillion words to describe like a chair. It doesn't take a gazillion goddamn years. So yeah, I think we're just gonna go ahead and hop right into it for today. Ow, I'm running into everything. Ow. I'm running into all my things. Oh, I hit my foot on my desk. Ow. That actually, okay, that started as a joke, but then I actually hit my foot. 500 gorillion words to say the chair was uncomfortable. 500 gorillion words to say This chair fucking sucks. Okay, so are you? I'm gonna Clark on my Ashton till I Smith. I came up with that joke like 2 minutes before stream started because I was trying to think of a funny little thing to put down there, and I'm like really proud of it, but also I feel like it's the stupidest thing I've ever said. She H's on my P till I Lovecraft. So, our first entry in this book, the end of the story, Clark Ashton Smith. It is definitely stupid, but I still think it's funny. Perfect. But yeah, so the first very, very short, like this is one page. This is called To the Daemon. And I think you'll find, so okay, real quick before I get started. So as I've kind of collected these like old-timey weird fiction authors, I've kind of started to see the differences, like sort of in their writing styles and how they do things. Lovecraft, that's kind of your standard. He's a fucking crazy scared weirdo. And then Algernon Blackwood had a more like little bit of a subtle approach, and it has a little bit more to do with like a mystery and a little bit less unknowable bullshit from beyond. Well, there's still a lot of unknowable bullshit from beyond. There's a lot of unknowable bullshit from beyond. That's kind of the point. But for him, like, it didn't come across quite as like hopeless. And then Thomas Ligotti is very characterized with dread, like very, very like big sense of kind of hopelessness. And reading Clark Ashton Smith, this is very flowery. It's very poetic. You'll see what I'm talking about. So anyway, let's go ahead and start. This one is called To the Daemon. Tell me many tales, O benign, maleficent demon, but tell. I already fucked it up. Oh well, all right. Well, I Clarked my Ashton and then I Smithed. All right, time to go. Stream's over. We're gone. I fucked it up. Okay. Tell me many tales, O benign, maleficent demon, but tell me none that I have ever heard or have even dreamt of otherwise than obscurely or infrequently. Nay, tell me not of anything that lies between the bournes of time or the limits of space, for I am a little weary of all the recorded years in charted lands, and the isles that are westward of Cathay, and the sunset realms of Ind, are not remote enough to be made the abiding place of my conceptions, and Atlantis is over new for my thoughts to sojourn there, and Mu itself has gazed upon the sun in aeons that are too recent. Tell me many tales, but let them be of things that are past the lore of legend, and of which there are no myths in our world or any world adjoining. Tell me, if you will, of the years when the moon was young, with siren-rippled seas and mountains that were zoned with flowers from the base to summit. Tell me of the planets gray with eld, of the worlds whereon no mortal astronomer has ever looked, and whose mystic heavens and horizons have given pause to visionaries. Tell me of vaster blossoms within those cradling chalices a woman could sleep, of the seas of fire that beat on strands of ever-during ice, of perfumes that can give eternal slumber in a breath, of eyeless titans that dwell in of eyeless titans that dwell in Uranus, like the planet. Yo, damn girl, you happy to see me, or is that just an eyeless titan in Uranus? It's like beautiful prose, and then I'm just like, yo, damn girl, you got an eyeless titan in Uranus. God damn it. Anyway, of eyeless titans that dwell in Uranus, and beings that wander in the green light of the twin suns of azure and orange, tell me tales of inconceivable fear and unimaginable love, in orbs whereto our sun is a nameless star, or unto which its rays have never reached. So that was that first one. Arm just reaches out of someone's butt and swings around trying to grab something. that that feel when you have an eyeless titan in your anus and it's just trying to grab at anything. All right. The first like real story here. Very elegant though, yes. So the first real story here of the night. This is The Abominations of Yondo. And I feel very strongly that every time I say Yondo, I'm going to say it like Yondo. And none of you can stop me from doing that. The sand desert of the sand desert as opposed to the sand of the desert of Yondo is not as the sand of other deserts, for Yondo lies nearest of all to the world's rim, and strange winds blowing from a gulf no astronomer may hope to fathom have sown its ruinous fields with the gray dust of corroding planets, the black ashes of extinguished suns, the dark orb-like mountains which rise from its pitted and wrinkled plain are not all its own, for some are fallen asteroids half buried in the abysmal sand. Things have crept in from nether space, whose incursion is forbid by the watchful gods of all proper and well-ordered lands. But there are no such gods in Yondo. There are no such gods in Yondo, where live the hoary genii of the stars abolished, and the decrepit demons left homeless by the destruction of antiquated hells. It was noon of a vernal day when I came forth from the interminable cactus forest in which the inquisitors of Ong had left me, and saw at my feet the gray beginnings of Yondo. I repeat, it was noon of a vernal day, but in that fantastic wood... Yo, girls love me for my fantastic wood. In my headcanon, this is a prequel to that Choose Your Own Adventure book with the ants. It is probably gonna smack a little bit of that, because this is absolutely old timey science fiction, but like crossing over into that era where people were just making shit up. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, this is Yondo, where the cactus desert is, and where the blingleblarg fruits grow, and the schnorp eat the donkle donks. I should find another one of those books at some point. That was a fun one. Right. We were on my fantastic wood. I repeat, it was noon of a vernal day, but in that fantastic wood I had found no token or memory of spring, and the swollen, fulvous, dying, and half-rotted growths through which I had pushed my way were like no other cacti, but bore shapes of abomination scarcely to be described. The very air was heavy with stagnant odors of decay, and leprous lichens mottled the black soil with russet vegetation with increasing frequency. Pale green vipers lifted their heads from prostrate cactus bowls and watched me with eyes of bright ochre that had no lids or pupils. These things had disquieted me for hours past, and I did not like the monstrous fungi, with hueless stems and nodding heads of poisonous mauve, which grew from the sodden lips of fetid tarns, and the sinister ripples spreading and fading on yellow water at my approach. They were not reassuring to one whose nerves were still taut from unmentionable tortures. Then, when even the blotched and sickly cacti became more sparse and stunted, the rills of ashen sand crept in among them, I began to suspect how great was the hatred my heresy had aroused in the priests of Ong, and to guess the ultimate malignancy of their vengeance. I will not detail the indiscretions which had led me, a careless stranger from far, far off lands, into the power of those dreadful magicians and mysteriarchs who served the lion-headed Ong. These indiscretions and the particulars of my arrest are painful to remember. At least of all do I like to remember the racks of dragon guts strewn with powdered adamant, on which men are stretched naked, or that unlit room with 6-inch windows near the sill, where the bloated corpse worms crawled in the hundreds from a neighboring catacomb, sufficient to say that, After expending the resources of their frightful fantasy, my inquisitors had borne me blindfolded on camelback for the incomputable hours, to leave me at morning twilight in that sinister forest. I was free, they told me, to go whither I would, and in token of the clemency of Ong, they gave me a loaf of coarse bread and a leathern bottle of rank water by way of provision. It was at noon of the same day that I came to the desert of Yondo. The desert of Yondo! Come and see the scenic, horrible desert of Yondo! Buy a condo at the desert of Yondo! Buy bail bondos at the desert of Yondo! Wander over Yondo to Yondo. Anyway. there's a joke in there, and I did not find it. Adjusting in my chair. So far, I had not thought of turning back, for all the horror of those rotting cacti or the evil things that dwelt among them. Now I paused, knowing the abominable legend of the land to which I had come, for Yondo is a place where few have ventured wittingly and of their own accord. Fewer still have returned, babbling of unknown horrors and strange treasure, and the lifelong palsy which shakes their withered limbs, together with the mad gleam in their starting eyes beneath whitened brows and lashes, is not an incentive for others to follow in their footsteps. So it was that I hesitated on the verge of those ashen lands, and felt the tremor of a new fear in my wrenched vitals. It was dreadful to go on, and dreadful to go back, for I felt sure that the priests had made provision against the latter contingency. So after a little, I went forward, sinking at each step into a loathly softness, and followed by certain long-legged insects that I had met among the cacti. These insects were the color of a week-old corpse, and were as large as tarantulas, but when I turned and trod upon the foremost, a mephitic stench arose that was more nauseous than even their own color. So for the nonce, I ignored them as much as possible. Indeed, such things were minor horrors in my predicament. Before me, under a huge sun of sickly scarlet, Yondo reached interminable as the land of the hashish dream against the black heavens. Far off on the utmost rim were these orb-like mountains of which I have told, but in between were awful blanks of grey desolation, and low treeless hills like the backs of half-buried monsters. Struggling on, I saw great pits where meteors had sunk from sight, and divers colored jewels that I could not name glared or glistened from the dust. There were fallen cypresses that rotted by crumbling mausoleums, on whose lichen-blotted marble fat chameleons crept with royal pearls in their mouths. Hidden by the low ridges were cities of which no stela remained unbroken. Immense and immemorial cities lapsing shard by shard, atom by atom, to feed infinities of desolation. I dragged my torture-weakened limbs over the vast rubbish heaps that had once been mighty temples, and fallen gods frowned in rotting pasamite. This feels like old-school Night Vale, if that makes it. Yeah, it kind of does. You're right, it does kind of give off that sort of vibe. Where was it? And fallen gods frowned in rotting samite, or leered in riven porphyry at my feet. Over all was an evil silence, broken only by satanic laughter of hyenas, and the rustling adders of thickets of dead thorn, or antique gardens given the perishing nettle of fumitory. Perishing nettle and fumitory. Funitory. Predatory. Scubadory. Finding Nemo door. Anyway. Topping one of the many mound-like ridges, I saw the waters of a weird lake. Yo, that's a weird lake. Ma, there's a weird lake outside. Mom, there's a weird lake outside. Ma, there's a weird lake outside. I don't want to start a fight with Lucy. Ma, there's a weird cat outside. Blink, motherfucker. I got stuck. Hold on, I lost my place at Weird Lake. I saw Weird Lake and I immediately was like, I have to reference this. There we go. Okay, it was the first sentence. Topping one of the many mound-like ridges, I saw the waters of a weird lake, unfathomably dark and green as malachite, and set with bars of profulgent salt. These waters lay far beneath me, in a cup-like basin, but almost at my feet, on the wave-worn slopes, were heaps of that ancient salt, and I knew that the lake was only the bitter and ebbing dregs of some former sea. Climbing down, I came to the dark waters and began to lave my hands, but there was a sharp and corrosive sting in that immemorial brine, and I desisted quickly. Preferring the desert dust that had wrapped around me like a slow shroud. Here I decided to rest for a little, and hunger forced me to consume part of the meager and mocking fare with which I had been given provided by the priests. It was my intention to push on, if my strength would allow, and reach the lands that lie to the north of Yondo. These lands are desolate, indeed, but their desolation is of more usual order than that of Yondo, and certain tribes of nomads have been known to visit them occasionally. If fortune favored me, I might fall in with one of these tribes. Machine Elves has logged on. Machine Elves. I'm in. Welcome in. Excuse me. The scant fare revived me, and for the first time in weeks of which I had lost all reckoning, I heard the whisper of a faint hope. The corpse-colored insects had long since ceased to follow me, and so far, despite the eeriness of the sepulchral... Sepulchral? No, I said that right. Sepulchral silence, and the mounded dust of timeless ruin, I had met nothing half so horrible as those insects. I began to think that the terrors of Yondo were somewhat exaggerated. By the way, to catch you up, a bunch of weird shit happened. That's what's happened so far. Nobody knows what's happening. We just know this dude is in a weird desert, and that's kind of it. It was then that I heard a diabolic chuckle on the hillside above me. The sound began with a sharp abruptness that startled me beyond all reason, and continued endlessly, never varying in its single note, like the mirth of some idiotic demon. I looked up and saw the mouth of a dark cave, fanged with green stalactites, which I had not perceived before. The sound appeared to come from within this cave. With a fearful intentness I stared at the black opening. The chuckle grew louder, but for a time I could see nothing. At last I caught a whitish glimmer in the darkness. Then, with all the rapidity of a nightmare, a monstrous thing emerged. It had a pale, hairless, egg-shaped body, large as that of a graved she-goat, and this body was mounted on 9 long, wavering legs, with many flanges, like the legs of some enormous spider. The creature ran past me to the water's edge, and I saw that there were no eyes in its oddly sloping face, but 2 knife-like ears rose high above its head, and a thin, wrinkled snout hung down across its mouth, whose flabby lips parted in that eternal chuckle revealed rows of bat's teeth. So it's some kind of... Hello, I'm David Attenborough, and as you can see, we are now viewing the horrible spider elephant bat creature. Absolutely beautiful. As it slurps water from the stream, we get a good look at its face. It is ugly. It is so very ugly. I am a proponent for the for the the keeping aliveness of nature. keeping I am a proponent for keeping aliveness of nature, but I for one think we should kill this thing immediately. This thing should not be suffered to live. I do not wish to see this creature snorkeling around any further. I will take it down myself. Snorfle, snorfle, snorfle. Hashtag murder. All right. It drank avidly of the bitter lake. Then, with thirst satisfied, it turned and seemed to sense my presence, for the wrinkled snout rose and pointed downward to me, sniffing audibly. the I'm pleased to snorf you. I give you a sneef. They can't find the body. There's not enough evidence to make the charges stick. I move on to the next town. I'm sneefed to meet you. Snorf, snorf, snorf. Whether the creature would have fled, or whether it meant to assail me, I do not know, for I could bear the sight no longer, but ran with trembling limbs amid the massive boulders and great bars of salt along the lake shore. Utterly breathless, I stopped at last, and saw that I was not pursued. I sat down, still trembling, in the shadow of a boulder, but I was to find little respite, for now began the second of those bizarre adventures which forced me to believe all the mad legends I had heard. More startling than even that diabolic chuckle was the scream that rose at my very elbow from the salt-compounded sand, the scream of a woman possessed by some atrocious agony or helpless in the grip of devils. Turning, I beheld a veritable Venus, naked in white perfection that could fear no scrutiny, but immersed to her navel in sand. Her terror-widened eyes implored me, and her lotus hands reached out with beseeching gesture. This is a trap. This is a fucking trap. This man is about to get trapped. I sprang to her side and touched a marble statue, whose carven lids were drooped in some enigmatic dream of dead cycles, and whose hands were buried with the lost loveliness of hips and thighs. Again I fled, shaken with a new fear, and again I heard the scream of a woman's agony, but I did not turn once more to see the imploring eyes and hands. Up the long slope to the north of that accursed lake, stumbling over boulders of basanite and ledges that were sharp, with verdigris covered metals, floundering in pits of salt or innominable ashes, on terraces wrought by the receding tide of ancient aeons, I fled as a man flees from dream to baleful dream of some oh god, this is a fucking word. Cacodemoniacal. I was not aware that okay, so I know cacodemons from Doom, but I kind of thought that was a made up thing. So to come across the word cacodemoniacal. So, hold on. Challenging myself. Doing a challenge. Cacodemoniacal, fuck. Cacodemoniacal, damn it. Fuck. Cacodemoniacal, fuck. Almost. Cacodemoniacal. Good enough. I win. I did it. Anyway. Let me just zoop myself back down. I love finding words and then trying to say them really fast. I'm a simple man. I'm a simple them. Alright, where was that funny ass word? Okay. I fled as a man flees from dream to baleful dream, of some cacodemoniacal night. At whiles there was a cold whisper in my ear, which did not come from the winds of my flight, and looking back as I reached one of the upper terraces, I perceived a singular shadow that ran pace by pace with my own. This shadow was not the shadow of a man, nor ape, nor any known beast. The head was too grotesquely elongated, the squat body too gibbous, and I was unable to determine whether the shadow possessed 5 legs, or whether it appeared to be the 5th was merely a tail. Terror lent me new strength, and I had reached the hilltop when I dared to look back again, but still the fantastic shadow kept pace by pace with mine, and now I caught a curious and utterly sickening odor, foul as the odor of bats who have hung in a charnel house amid the mold of corruption. I ran for leagues while the red sun slanted above the asteroidal mountains in the west, and the weird shadow lengthened with mine, but kept always at the same distance behind me. An hour before sunset, I came to a circle of small pillars that rose miraculously unbroken amid ruins that were like a vast pile of potsherds, or potsherds. As I passed among these pillars, I heard a whimper, like the whimper of some fierce animal between rage and fear, and saw that the shadow had not followed me within the circle. I stopped and waited, conjecturing at once that I had found a sanctuary my unwelcome familiar would not dare enter. And in this action the shadow confirmed me, for the thing hesitated, and ran about the circle of columns, pausing often between them, whimpering all the while. At last went away and disappeared into the desert, towards the setting sun. You wish the 5th leg was a tail? Oh god. Oh god. I don't think that's a tail. Oh no. It's gonna Clark on my Ashton till I Smith. Anyway. For a full half hour I did not dare to move. Then the imminence of night, with all its probabilities of fresh terror, urged me to push on as far as I could to the north, for I was now in the very heart of Yondo, where demons or phantoms might dwell, who would not respect the sanctuary of the unbroken columns. Now, as I toiled on, the sunlight altered strangely, for the red orb nearing the mounded horizon sank and smoldered in a belt of miasmal haze, where floating dust from all the shattered fanes and necropoli of Yondo was mixed with evil vapors coiling skyward from black, enormous gulfs, lying beyond the utmost rim of the world. In that light, the entire waste, the rounded mountains, the serpentine hills, the lost cities, were drenched with phantasmal and darkening scarlet. Then out of the north, where shadows mustered, there came a curious figure, a tall man, fully caparisoned, cacodemoniacally. Crap. Oh yeah, here we go. Tall man, fully caparisoned in chainmail, or rather, what I assumed to be a man, as the figure approached me, clanking dismally at each step on the sharded ground. oh god, nobody look down. Oh, that's sharded ground. Don't nobody look at the sharded ground. Just keep your eyes up. I saw that its armor was of brass mottled with verdigris, and a casque of the same metal, furnished with coiling horns and a serrate comb, rose high above its head. I say its head, for the sunset was darkening, and I could not see clearly at any distance, but when the apparition came abreast, I perceived that there was no face beneath the brows of that bizarre helmet, whose empty edges were outlined for a moment against the smoldering light. Then the figure passed on, still clanking dismally, and vanished. Hell yeah, living armor. We got living armor in this desert. Hell yeah. Living armor's cool. You see an armor walking around with nobody in it, and you're just like, yo, can we hang out? What are you doing Friday? You want to play Tekken? I don't know why Tekken was what I went for there, but whatever. Yo, Hollow Armor, do you want to come play fighting games with me and order a pizza? We should be friends. And maybe date depending on how well we jibe with each other. Oh no! Oh no, there's a bot. Oh, gross. Gross, there's a bot. Everybody, man your defenses. Hi, I want to promote your channel. I want to be a fucking nerd. Let's see. Chat's, how do I want to ban you. How do I ban you? Ban. You're banned. Get out of here. Away with you. Get the hell out of here. Man, I hate those. I don't like these bots that just post a goddamn whole ass paragraph. And they have a tendency to follow you too. And I'll be like, oh boy, a new follower. And it's like a fucking bot. And I'm just like, god damn it. But anyway, the bot has been defeated. Let's move on. I'd learn Tekken to hang out with Living Armor. Hell yeah, same. I don't even know Tekken very well. Okay, where was I? Right. We were watching the armor walk away. When you walk away, you can hear me say, please, oh baby, don't go. Anyway. I don't know where that came from. But on its heels, ere the sunset faded, there came a second apparition, striding with incredible strides, and halting when it loomed almost upon me in the red twilight. The monstrous mummy of some ancient king, still crowned with untarnished gold, but turning to my gaze a visage that more than time or the worm had wasted. Broken swathings flapped about the skeleton legs, and above the crown was set with sapphires and ballast rubies, and a black something swayed and nodded horribly, but for an instant I did not dream what it was. Then in its middle, two oblique and scarlet eyes opened and glowed like hellish coals, and two ophidian fangs glittered in an ape-like mouth. A squat, furless, shapeless head on a neck of a disproportionate extent leaned unspeakably down and whispered in the mummy's ear. Then with one stride the titanic lich took half the distance between us, and from out of the folds of the tattered cere cloth a gaunt arm arose, a fleshless, talonless fingers laden with glowering gems reached out and fumbled for my throat. Back through aeons of madness and dread, in a prone, precipitate flight, I ran from those fumbling fingers that hung always on the dusk beyond me. Back, forever, unthinking, unhesitating, to all the abominations I had left. Back in the thickening twilight towards the nameless and sharded ruins, the haunted lake, the forest of evil cacti, and the cruel and cynical inquisitors of Ong who waited my return. So this dude was in prison for something, and the guards were like, okay, you can go free in this scary ass desert full of weird shit. And then he does that. And then he shows up and he's like, wow, this is a scary ass desert full of weird shit, and I'm scared. And then by the end, he meets a Dark Souls boss, and then he's like, well, fuck this. I'm out. I'm getting out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. I don't really know what just happened, and I don't really care. I'm gonna get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Anyway. That has to be like the third or fourth time I've done that bit on this channel. But yeah, so that was the end of that story. Like I said, he's like, Clark Ashton has a very, because a lot of what he's describing, and it's, my mind is having to kind of fill in some blanks, but like he's describing some very like inherently alien shit that's like just weird. Like just absolutely weird. And it's very amusing. I like it so far. I kind of like how real deep we're going into the hot nonsense. Anyway, so the next story, which I didn't read this deeply into it, so I don't know what this next story is going to partake of, but we'll see how it goes. And you know what? You know what's nice? You know what's nice? Not a single weird racist remark yet. There's still time. There's still time for old-timey fiction to make a oopsie. But we'll see how it goes. Take a drinkos. All right. Let's keep rolling. Our next story is called Sadastor. Yeah, I'm Sadastor. Yeah. Oh, definitely possible for a very bad take to pop up. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. You know me. I usually do pretty well at censoring that when it happens. You can't trust you can't trust old-timey fiction. It'll be really cool for a while, and then it'll just say the most absolutely racist garbage you've ever heard. All right, let's go. Listen, for this is the tale that was told to a fair Lamia by the demon Sharnadis, as they said, Sharnadis nuts. Anyway, by the demon Sharnadis, as they sat together on the top of Mophai, above the sources of the Nile, in those years when the Sphinx was young. Now the Lamia was vexed, for her beauty was grown an evil legend in both Thebias and Elephantine, so that men were become fearful. So that men were become fearful of her lips and cautious of her embrace, and she had no lover for almost a fortnight. She lashed her serpentine tail on the ground and moaned softly, and wept those mythical tears which a serpent weeps. And the demon told this tale for her comforting. Yo, girl, this girl be like, I haven't gotten it in like over 2 weeks. I'm dying of thirst. Please. Please, I need some company. and whoever our narrator is like, narrator's like, I'm gonna tell you a story. Won't that be nice? She's like, please, I'm begging you. Please give me the good stuff. I'm dying. Long, long ago, in the red cycles of my youth, said Sharnadi, I was like all young demons, and was prone to use the agility of my wings in fantastic flights, to hover and poise like a gear eagle above Tartarus and the pits of Python, or to lift the broad blackness of my vans on the orbit of stars. I have followed the moon from evening twilight to morning twilight, and I have gazed on the secrets of that Medusian face which she averts eternally from the earth. I have read through filming ice and the Ethiophalic runes on the columns yet extant in her deserts, and I know the hieroglyphs which solve forgotten riddles, or hint Aeonian histories, on the walls of her cities taken by inelucutable snow. I have flown through the triple ring of Saturn, and have mated with lovely basilisks on isles towering league high from stupendous oceans, where each wave is like the rise and fall of Himalayas. Wow, bragging much? You're talking about having a good time with basilisks, and you're gonna be like, oh man, I went to these beautiful places and I had sex with all these cool ethereal alien creatures, you jelly. And I'd be like, I mean, yeah, ass. Just sit there and fucking remind me of my own humanity, why don't you? I will never, I, I will never, I will never shack up with snake women on the sixth ring of Saturn, while, while, uh, while reading ancient texts of long extinct societies. What's the point in even living? Why even be alive at this point? Anyway. I have dared the clouds of Jupiter and the black and freezing abysses of Neptune, which are crowned with eternal starlight, and I have sailed beyond to incommensurable suns, compared with which compared with which the sun that thou knowest is a corpse candle in a stinted vault. There in tremendous planets I have furled my flight on terraced mountains, large as fallen asteroids, where with 1,000 names and 1,000 images, undreamt of evil is served and worshipped in unsurmisable ways, or perched in the flesh-colored lips of the columnar blossoms whose perfume was an ecstasy of incommunicable dreams. I have mocked the waving monsters and have lured their females that sang and fawned at the base of my hiding place. Look at this! Oh my god, yo, shatter my knees. Yes, this dude, Chardonnese. This guy's a Chad. This guy's chadding it up all across the universe. Once again, the story starts with like this poor Lamia just being like, I'm so thirsty. I swear to God, I'm so thirsty. I just need some companionship for like one goddamn night. That's all I'm asking. And then this dude is just sitting there like, well, guess what? I've been banging all sorts of creatures all over the universe. And then not doing anything. It's like, let me tell you of my sexual exploits throughout the cosmos. That'll make you feel better. Readjust. Anyway. Now, in my indefatigable questioning amongst the remoter galaxies, I came one day to that forgotten and dying planet, which in the language of its unrecorded peoples was called Sadastor. Immense and drear and grey beneath a waning sun, far fissured with enormous chasms, and covered from pole to pole with the never-ebbing tides of the desert sand, it hung in space without moon or satellite, an abomination and a token of doom to fairer and younger worlds. Checking the speed of my interstellar flight, I followed its equator with a poised and level wing, above the peaks of cyclopean volcanoes and bare, terrific ridges of elder hills, and desert pale with the ghastliness of salt that were manifestly the beds of former oceans. Are you sure you didn't get another light novel God, nothing I read is ever gonna be as bad as that light novel I tried to read. Oh my god. Oh boy. Ancient cosmic horror light novels. Hi, I'm Cthulhu-chan, and I go to Eldritch High School, where I'm the biggest Chad that has ever macked on every other ethereal eldritch entity that has ever been known. Let's see, immense and dear and gray between the waning sun, far fissured, cyclopean volcanoes. Here we go. In the very center of one of those ocean beds, beyond sight of the mountains that formed its primeval shoreline, and leagues below their level, I found a vast and winding valley that plunged even deeplier? Deeplier. I don't think that's a word. That's stupid. That's not a word. Deeplier? Deeplier. Deeplier? Like deep? And then like deeplier? So like deeply? But you're going deeplier. I don't believe that. I don't think that's a word. I choose to ignore that. I choose to believe that's not a word. They made that up. Even deeplier into the abysses of this dreadful world. It was walled with perpendicular cliffs and buttresses and pinnacles of red rusty stone that were fretted into a million bizarrely sinister forms by the sinking of the olden seas. I flew slowly among these cliffs as they wound ever downward in a tortuous spiral for mile on mile of utter and irredeemable desolation, and the light grew dimmer above me as ledge on ledge and battlement on battlement of that strange red stone upreared themselves between my wings and the heavens. Here, when I rounded a sudden turn of the precipice, in the profoundest depth where the rays of the sun fell only for a brief while at noon, and the rocks were purple with everlasting shadow, I found a pool of dark green water, the last remnant of the former ocean, ebbing still amid steep, insuperable walls. And from this pool there cried a voice, in accents that were subtly sweet as the mortal wine of the mandragora, and faint as the murmuring of shells. And the voice said, "Pause and remain, I pray, and tell me who thou art, who comest thus to the accursed solitude wherein I die." Then, pausing on the brink of the pool, I peered into the gulf of shadow, and saw the pallid glimmering of a female form that upreared itself from the waters. And the form was that of a siren, with hair the color of ocean kelp, and berry-line eyes, and a dolphin-shaped tail. And I said to her, "Damn, girl, what you doing Friday?" "Yo, girl, you want to go somewhere? You want to get some drink?" And I said to her, "I am the demon Chardonnay, but who art thou? Who lingerest thus in this ultimate pit of abomination, in the depth of a dying world?" She answered, "I am a siren, and my name is Lecipiel, of the seas wherein I swam and sported at leisure many centuries ago, and whose gallant mariners I drew to the enchanted death on the shores of my disastrous isle. There remains only this fallen pool. Alas, for the pool dwindles daily, and when it is wholly gone, I too must perish." She began to weep, and her briny tears fell down and were added to the briny waters. Fain would I have comforted her, and when I fain would I have fain would I have comforted her, and I said, "Weep not, for I will lift thee upon my wings and bear thee to some newer world, where the sky-blue waters of abounding seas are shattered to intricate webs of wanest foam, on low shores that are green and aureate with pristine spring. There, perchance for aeons, thou shalt have thine abode, and galleys with painted oars and great barges, purpureal sailed, shall be drawn upon thy rocks in the red light of sunsets domed with the storm, and shall mingle the crash of their figured prows with the sweet sorcery of thy mortal singing." But she still wept and would not be comforted, crying, "Thou art kind, but this would avail me not, for I was born of the waters of this world, and with its waters I must die. Alas, my lovely seas, that ran in unbroken sapphire from shores of perennial blossoms to shores of everlasting snow, alas, the sea winds with their mingled perfumes of brine and weed, and scents of ocean flowers and flowers of the land, and far-blown exotic balsams, alas, the quinquirmes, what the fuck is this word? This guy keeps throwing some funny words. What the hell is this one? I'm looking this one up. I've been ignoring a lot of funny words. This one, I don't believe this is a real word. Quinquire me. What the hell is a quinquire me? Uh, was a warship rowed by oarsmen arranged in groups of 5, perhaps with 3 banks of oars, one after another. Oh, okay, so it's like a boat. It's like one of them old. It's an old boat. Gotcha. It's a boat. Alas, the conquirements of cycle-ended wars, and the heavy-laden argosies with sails and cordage of Boeosus, that plied between barbaric isles with their cargoes of topaz or garnet-colored wines and jade and ivory idols in the antique summers that now are less than legend. Alas, the dead captains, the beautiful dead sailors that were borne by the ebbing tide to my couches of amber seaweed, in my caverns underneath a sedared promontory. Alas, the kisses that I laid on their cold and hueless lips, on their sealed marmorian eyelids. The sorrow and pity seized me at her words, for I knew that she spoke the lamentable truth, that her doom was in the lessening of the bitter waters. So after many proffered condolences, no less vague than vain, I bade her a melancholy farewell, and flew heavily away between the spiral cliffs where I had come, and clomb the somber skies till the world Sadastor was only a darkling mote far down in space. But the tragic shadow of the siren's fate and her sorrow lay grievously upon me for hours, and only in kindness of a beautiful fierce vampire, in a far-off and young and exuberant world, was I able to forget it. And I tell thee now the tale thereof, that haply thou mayest be consoled by the contemplation of a plight that was infinitely more dolorous and irredeemable than thine own. Okay, alright, okay, I get it now. Okay. Number 1, fuck this guy. What an asshole. We've got this snake lady who's like, yo, I haven't gotten laid for like 2 weeks, and this shit sucks. And then our other guy is like, well, actually, I went to, after I went on a banging tour of the universe, I met this lady who was dying because her water was drying up, and I, like, watched her die, so, like, maybe shut the fuck up and understand that other people have it worse than you. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, asshole. It's like those... That's like those people who are like... They're like, how can you complain that your soup is too hot when there are starving children in third world countries? And it's like, shut up. Shut the fuck up. Don't pretend you care. Don't pretend you actually give a shit. But I love how that realization just hit me like a train at the end, because the entire time I'm like, this lady just told you that she's basically just Randy, and you start telling a story, and then the moral of this story is like, stop being so upset at your own problems. Other people are dying in space. Fucking shut up. Shut the hell up. Hey chat. Hey chat, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? I'm gonna have a snack. Come get your fruit snacks. Come get your fruit snacks. I got some fruit gummies. I'm gonna have some fruit gummies right now. But I brought you some. I have a plate of fruit gummies right here. Have some fruit gummy while I eat my fruit gummy. Delicious, delicious fruit gummy. Oh, I love fruit gummy. Oh, I love fruit gummy. Nom 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 nom. Ah nom 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 nom. Ah nom 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 nom. It kind of helps soothe my throat, actually. Sorry, I'll try not to chew like too close to the mic. But yeah, everybody, take a fruit gummy. Take a fruit gummy. I'm going to pass it along. Have a fruit gummy. There's two grape flavored ones right there. Oh, I love fruit gummy. Oh, fruit gummy. Anyway. Fruit gummy. Alright. I've eaten my fruit gummy. But I'm going to leave this plate of fruit gummies out. If anyone wants a fruit gummy, feel free to have one. Or, like, go into your own kitchens and get your own fruit gummies. Reach into your computer or phone or TV screen and take a gummy. Okay. Okay, so this next story, there is a slight problem. There was a printing error, and there is this, like, long black streak of ink across the page. I can still make out, like, because it's like a kind of a thin strip of ink, right? But it is covering, like, some letters. I'm gonna do my best to read it despite the fact that there is this giant swath of ink in here. Here, let me... I gotta show you. I gotta show you what the hell happened here. What if that's part of the spook? I don't know. I kind of doubt that. Oh, I gotta send this to myself on my Discord. Send that to me. It's kind of rough, to be totally honest. Let's see. Open my Discord. Loading up my Discord. I want to show you guys this ugly page. Open it up. Bring you over here. But, like, look at this. How in the world did this happen? This is such a... That's a big oopsie. And it, like, bleeds through into the next page. A ribbon of death. But yeah, like, that's a oopsies right there. Oh, hey, actually, you know what? While we're here, let's see, can I do this in a way? Let's see. Open that up. And then open this up. It's because we were talking about the Choose Your Own Adventure book we read a while ago. Do y'all remember this guy? Do y'all remember this was like the weirdly handsome alien that they kept talking about? The weirdly handsome alien. So my partner Galaxy, they saw this because I put it up on my Discord to, like, send it to myself, and then they sent me this. It's like the same thing. Oh. Oh my god. God, we gotta do that again. We have to do that again. Next time I go to the bookstore, I'm gonna see if I can find another Choose Your Own Adventure. Another good one, anyway. But anyway, I just wanted to show you all that, because it's really funny. Okay. 100% Choose Your Own Adventure pulp novels are great. Let's get eaten by ants. I will 100%, I will do this for you. I will promise this to you all. I will visit the bookstore. Maybe we'll do that for the next stream. Kind of alternate doing classics and doing, like, fun stuff. But yeah, I will go back to the bookstore and I will find another. So, we're going to try our best with this next story. So, oh, excuse me. I'm dying of fruit gummy poisoning. So we're gonna give this a shot. So bear with me if I'm stumbling a little more than usual, because I gotta kind of like fill in the gaps a little bit, considering this big, dumb, stupid ink splotch all over the page. This story is called The Ninth Skeleton. It was beneath the immaculate blue of a morning in April that I set out to keep my appointment with the Guinevere. We had agreed to meet on Boulder Riddle at a spot... See, we're already doing it. Boulder Ridge. That makes more sense than Boulder Riddle. We had agreed to meet on Boulder Ridge at a spot well known to both of us, a small and circular field surrounded with pines and full of large stones, midway between her parents' home at Newcastle and my cabin on the northeastern extremity of the ridge near Auburn. Guinevere is my fiancée. It must be explained that at the time of which I write, there was a certain amount of opposition on the part of her parents to the engagement, an opposition since happily withdrawn. In fact, they had gone so far as to forbid me to call, and Guinevere and I could see each other only by stealth and infrequently. Is this like the Ninth Doctor? The skeleton regenerates every once in a while? God, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. I want a version of Doctor Who where Doctor Who is just a skeleton. And every time it breaks, it just reforms into a new skeleton. You've solved my boulder. You solved my boulder riddle, Chris Redfield. I solved your boulder riddle by punching it. Skeletor Who. The fucking... God. Oh my god, the fucking Resident Evil 5 boulder punching. What was it? Which game? Oh, was it it was in Resident Evil 8. There's a character who calls Chris Redfield a boulder punching asshole. So like that's still canon that Chris Redfield punched a boulder. Anyway, LOL, really? Yes. SETI, 100% yes. There's an antagonist character in Resident Evil 8. Yeah, Heisenberg. Heisenberg says like, "Oh, I hate that boulder punching asshole." I love how Resi just knows how dumb it is. Yeah. In Japan, they use a different meme for that. I love that they still used a meme for it. That was in the script. Heisenberg has to say a meme. Oh my god, that's great. That's honestly great. I wonder, hold on a second. I wonder if I can find it. Let me bookmark this real quick. I'm gonna see if I can find... Can I just find boulder punching asshole? Yeah, here we go. I found it. Okay.
That boulder punching asshole! But you're first!
I'm gonna murder that boulder punching asshole. I'm gonna murder that boulder punching asshole. And the thing is, that also implies that Heisenberg knows what happened in the fucking volcano at the end of RE5. He just somehow knows. Or he can sense that Chris is the kind of guy to punch a boulder into pieces. Anyway. All right, let's get back to the ninth. We got to get back to Skeleton Doctor Who or whatever the hell's going on here. Huh. The ab shots on the shoulder on the boulder were key. Imagine, I want someone to make like a version of Punch Out, but it's Chris Redfield and the boulder doesn't move or attack or do anything. And you just press buttons to punch the boulder. Okay. Bleh. The ridge is a long and rambling moraine, heavily strewn in places with boulders, as its name implies. Gee, I wonder why it's called Boulder Ridge. Is it because of the boulders? Gee, I wonder. The ridge is long and rambling moraine, heavily strewn in places with boulders, as the name implies, and with many outcroppings of black volcanic stone. Fruit ranches cling to fruit ranches. It is fruit ranches. It's not branches, it's ranches. No, Chris Redfield used to live there. There used to be boulders. Chris Redfield went to Boulder Ridge. Now it's just a ridge. Fruit ranches cling to some of its slopes, but scarcely any to the top of its but scarcely any of the top is under cultivation, and much of the soil indeed is too thin and stony to be arable. With its twisted pines often as fantastic in forms as the cypress of the California coast, and its gnarled and stunted oaks, the landscape has a wild and quaint beauty, with more than a hint of the Japanesque. Just a hint of the Japanesque. You know, when you're cooking up a nice steak on the grill, you gotta add a little sprinkling of Japanesque. You know, it just gives it that nice little kick, that little kapow. And then after that, you make up the secret sauce, which is you take some mayo and some ketchup and you put in a little sriracha for that kick, and that's what you put on your steak. That's what you do. I don't know what's happening. Chat, eat your fruit gummies. Chat, don't look at me. Eat your fruit gummies. I'm no longer here. There's only fruit gummies. I have exited the building. Whoops. There we go. Anyway. God damn it. I'm sure that this is what the author... anytime I read these classic authors, I'm sure this was the intent. Their intent was to have some fucking, early 30-year-old weirdo on the internet read their shit and then start making fart noises. That was unique. You're such a fucking goober. Dunny, I fucking love you. Well, I love you all too. Anyway. We gotta get back to this. We gotta get back to this ridge that Chris Redfield punched all the boulders out of. The landscape has a wild and quaint beauty, with more than a hint of the Japanesque in places. It is perhaps 2 miles from my cabin to the place where I was to meet Guinevere. Since I was born in the very shadow of Boulder Ridge, and have lived upon or near it for most of my 30-odd years, I am familiar with every rod of its lovely and rugged extent, and previous to that April morning would scarcely have refrained from laughing if anyone had told me I could possibly... oh wow, this has completely obliterated the word. Had told me I could possibly lose my way. Since then, well, I assure you, I should not feel inclined to... Oh man, this sucks. I gotta find another copy of this book. This is rough. Born in a ridge, raised in a cave. Wait a minute. Born in a ridge, raised in a cave. Fucking entities on the 6th ring of Saturn is what I crave. Anyway. Previous to that April morning would scarcely have refrained from laughing if anyone had told me I could possibly lose my way. Since then, well, I assure you, I should not feel inclined to, though. Truly, it was a morning meant for the tryst of lovers, Wild bees were humming busily in the patches of clover and in the ceanothus bushes, with their great masses of white flowers, whose strange and heavy perfume intoxicated the air. Most of the spring blossoms were abroad. Cyclamen. Do your seasonal allergies give you the guff this time of year? Get once daily cyclamen. It'll help relieve your allergy symptoms in less than 24 hours, guaranteed. Side effects include explosive diarrhea, hand tremors, explosive diarrhea 2, and hallucinations of the impending heat death of the universe. Talk to your doctor if you experience explosive diarrhea 3. I can't think of any other side effects other than explosive diarrhea. Anyway. Yellow cyclamen, yellow violet poppy, wild hyacinth, and woodland star. And the green of the fields was opalescent with their colors. Between the emerald of the buckeyes and the great green of the pines, the golden and dark and bluish greens of the oaks, I caught glimpses of the snow-white Sierras to the east, and the faint blue of the coast range to the west, beyond the pale and lilac levels of the Sacramento Valley. Following a vague trail, I went onwards across open fields where I had thread my way among clustering boulders. My thoughts were all of Guinevere. I looked only with a casual and desultory eye at the picturesqueness and vernal beauty that environed my path. I was halfway between my cabin and the meeting place when I became suddenly aware that the sunlight had darkened, and glanced up, thinking, of course, that an April cloud, appearing unobserved from beyond the horizon, had passed across the sun. Imagine then my surprise when I saw that the azure of the entire sky had turned to a dun and sinister brown, in the midst of which the sun was clearly visible, burning like an enormous round red ember. Then something strange and unfamiliar in the nature of my surroundings, which I was momentarily at loss to define, forced itself upon my attention, and my surprise became a growing consternation. I stopped and looked about me, and realized, incredible as it seems, that I was in the Resident Evil 5 volcano, and I could hear Chris Redfield just blasting away, just going ham on the boulders. I had lost, incredible as it seems, that I had lost my way, for the pines on either hand were not those I had expected to see. They were more gigantic, more gnarled, than the ones I remembered, and their roots withered in a wilder and more serpentine contortions from a soil that was strangely flowerless, and where even the grass grew only in scanty tufts. The boys loved me for my scanty tufts. There were boulders as large as druidic monoliths, and the forms of some of them were such as one might see in a nightmare, thinking, of course, that it all must be a dream, but with a sense of utter bewilderment which seldom, if ever, attends the absurdities and monstrosities of nightmare. I sought in vain to orient myself and to find some familiar landmark in the bizarre scene that lay before me. A path broader than the one I had been following, but running in what I judged to be the same direction, wound on among the trees. It was covered with a gray dust, which, as I went forward, became deeper and displayed footprints of a singular form. Footprints that were surely too attenuate, too fantastically slender to be human, despite their 5-toe marks. Something about them, I know not what, something in the nature of their very thinness and elongation made me shiver. I thought, homie has skinny little weird baby feet, and I don't like it. That gives me bad vibes. I don't like these skinny-ass feet. It creeps me out. Afterwards, I wondered why I had not recognized them for what they were, but at the time no suspicion entered my mind, only a vague sense of disquietude, an indefinable trepidation. As I proceeded, the pines amid which I passed became momentarily more fantastic and more sinister in the contortions of their bows and balls. Their bows and balls, bows and balls, bows and balls, bows and balls, bows and balls. In the contortion of their boughs and boles and roots. Some were like leering hags, others were obscenely crouching gargoyles. Some appeared to writhe in an eternity of hellish torture. Others were convulsed with a satanic merriment. All the while the sky continued to darken slowly. The dun and dismal brown that I... the dun and dismal brown... The dun and dismal brown that I had first perceived turning through almost imperceptible changes of tone to a dead funeral purple, wherein the sun smoldered like a moon that had risen from a bath of blood. Metal. Red. The trees and the whole landscape were saturated with this macabre purple. The trees and the whole landscape were saturated with this macabre purple, were immersed and steeped with its unnatural gloom. On the rocks as I went on, only the rocks as I went on grew strangely paler, and their forms were somehow suggestive of headstones, of tombs and monuments. Beside the trail there was no longer the green of vernal grass, only an earth mottled by drying algae and tiny lichens the color of verdigris. Boy, this guy likes talking about verdigris. I might have to look up... Hold on, I'm going to look up what verdigris is. This dude has said verdigris so many times, and I don't even know what it is. What the hell's verdigris? What the Sam hell's a verdigris? What the fuck's a verdigris? A bright bluish green incrustation or patina formed on copper or brass by... Oh, okay, it's that, like... Oh, it's that bluish shit that shows up on brass after it gets old. Okay. I understand. I get it now. Yeah, verdigris. You're thinking of ambergris. Ambergris is the whale vomit perfume. And then verdigris is... Yeah. I thought it was a patina. I thought it was a panini. I thought it was a delicious sandwich. Anyway. I'm funny. Everybody laugh to it now. Ouch. Right. Only an earth mottled by drying algae and tiny lichens the color of verdigris. Also, there were patches of evil-looking fungi with stems of a leprous pallor and blackish heads that drooped and nodded loathsomely. The sky had now grown so dark that the whole scene took on a semi-nocturnal aspect, and made me think of a doomed world in the twilight of a dying sun. All was airless and silent. There were no birds, no insects, no sighing of the pines, no lisping of leaves, a baleful and preternatural silence, like the silence of the infinite void. Please don't shoot me. Too bad. I don't believe you. No. Who's texting me? Who is texting me on my cellular phone? Oh, my mom is... Oh, okay, that's my mom. That's my mommy. She's letting me know that something came in the mail that went over to their house and not my house. I need to go get that stuff. I need to get that stuff from my mama. I gotta go get those items at some point. Spooky sent a text. Spooky has been remarkably quiet this stream. She has not interrupted us once. I'm so curious to see how long we can go before my cat inevitably tries to crash the stream. I even set up like a little bed area next to the table, like next to my desk, so she would have somewhere to sit, and I have not seen her yet. Yeah, that's why she's texting. Okay, fair enough. I get a text and it just says meow 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 meow. I open up my... Hold on, let me get these freaking gummies out of my face. No more gummies. The gummies are gone. I just get a text from my cat and it just says like meow 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 All right, that's enough. Stop it now. This is going far too silly. Stop it now. Let's see. Silence of an infernal void. Infinite void. The trees became denser, then dwindled, and I came to a circular field. Here there was no mistaking the nature of the monolithical boulders. They were headstones and funeral monuments, but so enormously ancient that the letterings or figures upon them were well nigh effaced, and the few characters that I could distinguish were, oh god, oh, I'm fucking dying, oh god, I'm dying from, oh, I'm suddenly quieter? Why am I quieter? Why am I suddenly quieter? Am I still suddenly quieter? Meow meow? Am I still quieter? I'll raise the input a little higher. La 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 la. Didn't notice? Oh, okay. I did put the book in front of the mic for like a split second. So like maybe it got kind of muffled. For me at least, yeah. Okay, well let me know if it happens again. I'll move a little closer. I like how we keep getting distracted from this particular story, but all that's really happened is this dude was like, I'm gonna go meet my girlfriend, and then he walks into the Oblivion dimension from Elder Scrolls 4. Like he just walks into an eternal plane of Oblivion. He's like, well, this is bad. Monolithical boulders, but so enormously ancient. Few of the characters I could distinguish. God damn it, the red tint. Yeah, the red tint of Oblivion. About them there was the hoariness and mystery and the terror of incomputable eld. It was hard to believe that life and death could be as old as they say. The trees around them were inconceivably gnarled and bowed as with an almost equal burden of years. The sense of awful antiquity that these stones and pines all served to convey increased the oppression of my bewilderment, confirmed the disquietude. Nor was I reassured when I noticed on the soft earth about the headstones a number of those attenuate footprints of which I had already spoken. They were disposed in a fashion that was truly singular, seeming to depart from and return to the vicinity of each stone. Now, for the first time, I heard a sound other than the sound of my own footfalls in the silence of this macabre scene. Behind me among the trees there was a faint and evil rattling. I turned and listened. There was something in these sounds that served to complete the demoralization of my unstrung nerves, and monstrous fears, abominable fancies, trooped like the horde of witches about through my brain. The reality that I was now to confront was no less monstrous. There was a whitish glimmering in the shadow of the trees, and a human skeleton, bearing in its arms the skeleton of an infant, emerged and came towards me. And then I said, no, please, I don't want to hold your baby. I do not trust myself. I will drop that baby skeleton and it's going to fall and it's going to hit the floor and I'm going to feel really horrible and it's going to get like brain damage or something. It's all going to be my fault and you're all going to hate me. And this is just going to be my life forever. I'm going to be the guy who dropped the skeleton baby and I'm going to be that guy and I'm going to ruin this person's entire future because they chose to hand me the baby when I told them, don't hold me the baby. I can't hold the baby. I'm going to drop this fucking baby. This is what my intrusive thoughts are like. This is what it's like being in my head, like 24/7. Every scenario ends this way. Not specifically with dropping a baby, but with just the worst possible outcome. I will spike your baby like a football with teeth. Oh boy. Okay. Ba 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 ba. There was a skeleton. Oh my god! And then a skeleton popped out, and it had a skeleton baby. Intent on some ulterior cryptic purpose, some charnel errand not to be surmised by the living, it went by with a tranquil pace, an effortless and gliding tread, in which, despite my terror and stupefaction, I perceived a certain horrible and feminine grace. I followed the apparition with my eyes as it passed among the monuments without pausing, and vanished in the darkness of the pines on the opposite side of the field. No sooner had it gone than a second, also bearing in its arms an infant skeleton, appeared and passed before me in the same direction, and with the same abominable and loathsome grace of movement. Also, at least this one did not ask me to try and hold their baby. I really appreciate that. These skeletons need to understand how awkward it is whenever someone's like, hey, you should hold the baby. And I'm gonna be like, no, I'm gonna drop the baby. You don't understand. I'm gonna drop the fucking baby. I'm gonna drop the baby. I'm gonna ruin his entire life for... Anyway. It had hyper realistic human eyes and hyper realistic blood. A horror that was more than horror, a fear that was beyond fear, petrified all my faculties, I felt as if I were weighed down by some inelucutable and insupportable burden of nightmare. Before me, skeleton after skeleton, each precisely like the last, with the same macabre lightness and ease of motion, each carrying its pitiful infant, emerged from the shadow of ancient pines and followed where the first had disappeared. Intent as on the same cryptic errand. One by one they came, till I counted 8. 8 skeletons! 8 skeleton babies! Anyway. Now I knew the origin of the bizarre footprints whose attenuation had disturbed and troubled me. When the eighth skeleton had passed from my sight, my eyes were drawn by some irresistible impulsion to one of the nearer headstones, besides which I was amazed to perceive that I had not noticed before, a freshly opened grave gaping darkly in the soft soil. Then at my elbow I heard a low rattling, and the fingers of a fleshless hand plucked lightly at my sleeve. A skeleton was beside me, differing only from the others through the fact that it bore no infant in its arms. With a lipless and ingratiating leer, it plucked again at my sleeve, as if to draw me towards the open grave, and its teeth clicked as if it were trying to speak. My senses and my brain, aswirl with vertiginous terror, could endure no more. I seemed to fall and fall through deeps of infinite eddying blackness with the clutching terror of those fingers upon my arm, till consciousness was left behind in my descent. When I came to, Guinevere was holding me by the arm, concern and puzzlement upon her sweet oval face, and I was standing among the boulders of the field, appointed for our rendezvous. "What on earth is the matter with you, Herbert?" she queried anxiously. "Are you ill? You were standing here in a daze when I came, and didn't seem to hear or see me when I spoke to you. And I really thought you were going to faint when I touched your arm." That's it. This dude had a real rough waking nightmare about skeletons. So he just kind of showed up here. Yeah, so this dude straight up was just like, he went to go meet his girlfriend, and then like he kind of had one of the real spiked brownies before he left. And he was like, oh god, I ate the skeleton weed brownies. Actual talk, I'm assuming that it was like he just no, I don't know. He went to meet his girlfriend, then he met her. I don't know. I'm still seeing this as dude just bumblefucked. He had a waking nightmare about his GF dying in childbirth, I think. Maybe. This one, because here's the thing, right? This guy, from the last couple of stories we read, it doesn't really seem like they have super like deep or cut upable meaning. It seems like it's kind of just weird shit happens. So I'm kind of looking at this as just another weird shit happens kind of story. But if we did want to try and dissect it, I think that would be the direction I would go with it too. I don't know. It could also be like, So, these two have like a young people. He went to see his girlfriend, then he met her. Also, Sans was there. Also, well, no, I guess it doesn't really matter what the gender of the skeletons were. I was gonna say trans Sans was there. Transgender skeleton. That'd be awesome, actually. Anyway, but I think one way you could interpret that, if you wanted to dissect it, is Sans is a he/him lesbian. Is that if it's like here's these two young people in love, like meeting at a secluded spot and their parents don't approve of it, it kind of smacks of those like relationships that are built on like two people fancying each other, but like kind of only in like a physical initial kind of way. And maybe one could make the argument that this place just sort of houses like the ghosts of previous it smacks of star-crossed lovers and doomed love, and they will both die if this doesn't die out. Something like that, yeah. Like lovers use this place as like a meeting place, but their relationships are kind of doomed from the start because problems. I can be lucid, see? I don't know, man. Maybe it's just a bunch of weird shit that happened. Imagine, if you will, if you walked into a place and some skeletons showed up. Spooky! Spooky! Oh my god. You waited so long. You waited so long to show up this time. Usually you're here way faster. Usually you're here like near the start of the stream. Spooky, come here. Why are you gonna make this difficult? I'm trying to pick you up. Idiot, I'm trying to pick you up. Oh my god. Why do you gotta be such a wiggle worm? Spooky. There you go. 5-minute cat break. Yeah, 5-minute cat break while I get my cat situated, or else she's gonna be a pest, as usual. It's that time. Yeah, see, I set up a blanket for you this time. I set up a chair and a blanket. I set up this nice little area for you so that you could see what I'm doing. I set you up like a nice little perch. Please, goddamn, please relax. Let me read. Let's see. Oh yeah, we finished the story. That's right. We were moving on to the next one. I'm gonna pet my cat for a minute, though. How y'all doing? How y'all liking this so far? This doing anything for you? This doing anything? Y'all having fun with weird, surreal, old-timey guy? I give it 3 spooks out of 5. I give it 3 spooks out of 5. But I enjoy the combination of you and spooks. Aw. Sorry, I'm silent for like a second. I'm vigorously petting my cat. Spooky, do you have anything to say? I don't know if you can hear it. I'm putting the mic up to her so maybe the purrs will come through. Cat petting ASMR. Okay, that's enough of that. put you back. All right, Spooky. Are you gonna be chill? Are you gonna be chill and let me continue? Here, sniff this book. Rub your face on it. Rub your face on it. There you go. You're involved. I've involved you in this process now. You're still on the floor? Yeah, I'm gonna get back up in my chair now. Zoop. I'm gonna keep Spooky is currently here, so I'm gonna leave her on screen. I should make like a quiet version of this. Like the one where she's just chilling. And then alternate when she's actually being a pest. Okay. Alright. I think maybe we'll probably just do one more story. I don't know if I have a long stream in me today. So the next story is called The Last Incantation. Malagris the magician sat in the topmost room of his tower that was builded on a conical hill above the heart of Susran, capital of Poseidonus. Wrought of a dark stone mined from deep in the earth, perdurable and hard as the fabled adamant, this tower loomed above all others, and flung its shadow far on the roofs and domes of the city, even as the sinister power of Malgris had thrown its darkness on the minds of men. Now Malgris was old, and all the baleful might of his enchantments, all the dreadful or curious demons under his control, all the fear that he had wrought in the hearts of kings and prelates, were no longer enough to assuage the black ennui of his days. In his chair that was fashioned from the ivory of mastodons, inset with the terrible cryptic runes of red tourmalines and azure crystals, he stared moodily through the one lozenge-shaped window in his one lozenge-shaped window of fulvous glass. His white eyebrows were contracted to a single line on the umber parchment of his face, and beneath them his eyes were cold and green as the ice of ancient flows. His beard, half white, half of a black with glaucous gleams, fell nearly to his knees and hid many of the writhing serpentine characters inscribed in woven silver athwart the bosom of his violet robe. About him were scattered all the... Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna level with you. I'm gonna level with y'all. I'm gonna level with y'all. I'm gonna level with you. I don't think I want to do this guy no more. I don't want to do this guy no more right now. I don't have the energy to keep up. I don't have the energy to keep up with this guy. But I do kind of want to keep the stream going, so... Oh no, Spooky. Spooky, please don't barf. Spooky, please don't barf today. Well, no, don't barf again. You already barfed earlier. Spooky, honey, you okay? Spooky, you good? I'm hoping you're good. I really hope my cat doesn't throw up. I really hope my cat doesn't throw up. Oh my god. Okay, so hold on a second. Where do I I'm gonna check. Let me go check my bookshelf. I'm gonna go check my bookshelf over here. That's just slightly off screen. Let me see what else I have. Meow, I know. The book we were reading started getting really hard. Meow. Meow, I'm begging you not to barf. I'm so begging you not to barf. I'd really appreciate it if you didn't. Oh boy. Come on. What's on my shelf? What's on my shelf that'd be fun? I shouldn't have gotten rid of all my goosebumps and stuff. Oh, you know what? Let's, I got an idea. I have an idea, chat. I got an idea. I have a thought. Suddenly the sound of someone stomping on a half-empty water bottle. I have an idea. I have an idea, chat, my beloved. Here's what we're gonna do. 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 I'm gonna move my ping tuber a little bit so that I still sit in my chair. And then let's hit the NoSleep subreddit. Let's see, top, all time. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, I'm gonna change the stream title real quick. Digging into some NoSleeps for a little while. Boop. Let's see. Is there a way I can... Let's see. Series. I'm gonna try this one. Something walks whistling past my house every night at 3:03. I'm gonna give some NoSleeps a shot for a little while. Meow. Spooky. Spooky, I can't pull you up on this screen. I don't have you available. I didn't put you on this screen. Meow. I didn't put you on this screen. I'm sorry. I can't pull you up. Okay. So, something walks whistling past my house every night at 3:03. Every night, no matter the weather, something walks down our street whistling softly. You can only hear it if you're in the living room or the kitchen when they walk by, and it always starts at exactly 3:03. The sound starts faint, somewhere near the beginning of the lane near the Carson place. We are towards the middle of the street, so the whistling moves past us before fading away into the direction of the cul-de-sac. When I was younger, my sister and I would sneak into the kitchen some nights to listen. Mom and Dad didn't like that. We'd catch hell if they found us out there, but they were never too hard on us since we were always stuck to the one big rule. Don't try to look at whatever was whistling. My neighborhood is a funny place. I've lived here since I was 6. I love it. The houses are small but well kept, good-sized yards, plenty of places to roam. There are a lot of other kids here my age. I turned 13 back in October. We grew up together and would always play foursquare in the cul-de-sac or roam around from back porch to back porch in the summer. This was a good place to grow up. I'm not old enough to see it. And there's only the two strange things here: the night whistling and the good luck. The whistling never bothered me much. Like I said, I couldn't even hear it from my bedroom, but Mom and Dad don't like talking about it, so I've stopped asking questions. My dad is a strong guy, tall and calm. He has an accent since he moved to the US as a kid. His family, my grandparents, they're from the islands. That's what they call it. My dad, the only time he isn't so calm is if the whistler comes up. He talks a little quicker then. I was driving, but I'm excited for NoSleep. Hell yeah. Spooky, come up here. Just stay here. Just be here. Stop screaming at me from across the room. Just be near me, instead of trying to get me to go where you want me to go. Anyway, not that we could look even if we wanted. See, there are shutters on the inside of every window, thick pieces of heavy canvas that pull down from the top and latch to the bottom of the window frame. Each latch even has a small lock, about the size of what you'd find on a diary. My dad locks those shutters every night before we all go to bed and keeps the key in his room. My mom, I don't know what she thinks about the whistling. I've seen her out in the living room before 3:03 when the sound starts. I could see her if I cracked my door open just an inch to peek. She's not out there often. At least, I haven't caught her much. but once or twice a month, I think she sits out there on our big red couch just listening. The Whistler has the same tune every night. It's cheerful. And then we learned we were being rickrolled by the Whistler. Remember how I said there are two odd things about where I live? Well, besides our night Whistler, everyone in my neighborhood is really lucky. It's hard to explain, and Dad doesn't like us talking about this part much either, but good things just seem to happen to people around here a lot. Usually it's small things, winning a radio contest or getting an unexpected promotion at work, or finding some arrowheads buried in the yard. You know, the authentic kind. The weather is pretty good, and there's no crime, and everybody's gardens bloom extra bright in the fall. A million little blessings, I've heard my mom say about living here. But the main reason we stay here, why we moved here in the first place, is my sister Nola. She was born very sick, something with her lungs. We couldn't even bring her home when she was born. Only visit her in the hospital. She was so small. I remember, small even compared to other babies. A machine had to breathe for her. We moved into our house here to be closer to the hospital. As soon as we moved here, Nola started getting better. The doctors couldn't figure it out. They chalked it up to whatever they were doing, but we all could tell they were confused. But my parents knew. Even I knew. Nola getting better was just another of the million little blessings we got for living in our neighborhood. The Whistler is just a third shift worker. Hope that helps. So that's why we stayed even after we found out that for every small miracle that happens here every day, now and then, some bad things happen. But they only happen if you look for the Whistler. See, our neighborhood is a welcoming committee. They show up with macaroni and casserole and a gift basket and a manila folder whenever someone new moves in. They're very friendly. 4 people showed up when we moved in 7 years ago. The committee made small talk, gave me a Snickers bar, and took turns holding Nala. It was her first week out of the hospital, so they were extra careful. No, please don't hand me your premature baby. Oh my God, I'm gonna take it to the nearest basketball court and I'm gonna shoot a hoop with it. Oh God, I'm gonna kick it like a soccer ball through a field goal net. Please, you don't understand. It's all gonna happen on accident. The baby's gonna slip out of my fingers, and then I'm gonna accidentally kick it, and it's gonna fly out the window, and then it's gonna go straight into a sewer drain. I want to harm your child. Then the committee asked to speak to my parents in private, so I was sent to my room where I still managed to hear every word. The welcoming committee told my parents about how nice the neighborhood was, really exceptionally hard to explain kind of nice. And then they told my parents about the even harder to explain whistling that happened every morning at 3:03 and ended at the tick of 3:05. The group, our new neighbors, warned my parents that the whistling was quiet, would never harm or hurt us as long as we didn't look for what was making the sound. The part they stressed, and I pushed my ear to the door straining to hear them, people who went looking for the Whistler had their luck change, sometimes tragically. A black cloud would hang over anyone that looked. Anything that could go wrong would. The manila envelope the committee brought over contained newspaper clippings, stories about car crashes and ruined lives, public deaths and freak accidents. Not everyone dies, I heard the head of the committee tell my dad. But the life goes out of them. Even if they live, there's no light in them ever again. No presence. My mom, I could tell she wasn't taking it seriously. She kept asking if this was some prank they play on new neighbors. At one point, my mom got angry, accused the committee of trying to scare us out of our new home, asked them if they were racist on account of my dad being from the islands. My dad calmed her down, told her he could tell our new neighbors were sincere, and they were just trying to help us. He explained that he grew up hearing these kinds of stories from his mom, and that he knew there were strange things that walked among us! Oh my God! Among us! Among us! Among Us! Among Us! Oh my god! What the? Oh, that didn't work. Hold on. Open image, new tab. Among Us! Oh god! Among Us! They said it! They said Among Us! Anyway. God, I need to get on making that little Amogus emote. You should put some of Galaxy's Amoguses up. I will keep that in mind for next time. I wouldn't know immediately where to find them, but I will make a note of that. God, I love it. Oh, I've waited so long to see Among Us in anything so that I could just go, Among Us. Some of the strange things were good, some were bad, but most were just different. After the committee left, Dad went out to the hardware store, bought the canvas blinds, the latches, and the locks, and installed them on every window in the house after dinner. That first night in our new house, I crept out of my room at 3 a.m., only to find my dad awake sitting on the living room couch, holding my baby sister. My dad held up his finger in a shh motion, but patted the couch next to him. I sat, and we waited. At exactly 3:03, we heard the whistling. Anyway, that's what it sounds like. It came and went just like our neighbors said. The whistling returns each night, and we never look, and we enjoy our million little blessings every day. Nola breathes on her own, and she's grown into a strong, clever girl.
Clever girl.
Shit, where was I? My dad even joined the welcoming committee. We don't get new neighbors often. Why would anyone want to leave? But when a new family moves in, my dad and the committee bring them a macaroni casserole, a gift basket, and the manila folder. I can always tell by the look on my dad's face when he comes back if the family took the committee seriously, or if we'd be getting new neighbors again very soon. Not long ago, a family moved in directly next to us. The previous owner, Miss Maddie, passed away at age 105. She'd lived at age 105. She'd lived a good long life. Our new neighbors seemed like they'd fit in just fine. They believed the welcoming committee, took my dad's advice about locking the shutters since they had a young child of their own. Whatever newspaper clippings were in that manila envelope, whatever evidence my dad never let us see, but I imagine it must have been awfully convincing since our neighbors got along with no issues for that first month. One night when our new neighbors had to leave town, they sent their son, Holden, to stay with us. He was 12, a year under me in school. I didn't know him well before that night, but as soon as his parents dropped him off after dinner, I could tell it was going to be a bad time. Do you know who's always out there whistling every night? Holden asked the moment the adults left the room. The three of us were sitting in the den, some Disney movie playing idly on the television. My sister and I exchanged a glance. We don't talk about that, I said. I think it's a weirdo that lives in the big yellow house on the corner, Holden said. Mr. Tolles? My sister asked. No way, he's really nice. Holden shrugged. Must be a psycho killer then. Nola tensed. We don't talk about it, I repeated. Let's go in my room and play. Let's go to my room and play Nintendo. Why would anyone want to leave? Unsheathes knife. I want to go to my room and play Nintendo. We spent the next few hours playing games, eating popcorn, and then watching movies. A typical sleepover, but I could see Holden was getting antsy. After my parents had wished us good night, locked the blinds, and gone to bed, Holden stood up from his beanbag and walked over to where Nola and I had been sitting on my bed. Have you ever tried looking? He asked. It's nearly time. This kid is gonna get everybody fucking killed. This stupid idiot child. Like most sleepovers, we'd conveniently ignored any suggestion of a bedtime. I was shocked to see that he was right. It was almost 3 a.m. I sighed. We don't... See, I can't even try to look because my dad locks the blinds every night and hides the key, he continued, ignoring me. So does our dad, said Nola. No, replied Holden. No, he doesn't. You saw him do it, I said, a little sharper than I meant to sound. Holden grinned. Your dad locks the blinds, yeah, but he doesn't hide the key. He keeps it right on his normal keychain. So? I asked, worried I already knew what he would say next, because I had noticed that my dad didn't bother hiding the key anymore after all these years, because he knew we took it seriously. So after your dad locked up, but before your parents went to bed, I went to the bathroom, and on my way I may have peeked into their room, and I may have seen your dad's key on the nightstand, and I maybe went and borrowed the key to the blinds. We lock the blinds and weld them shut, hope there's no fire. Nola and I stared, and his grin only grew wider. You're lying, I said. Holden shrugged. You can check out if you want, just open your parents' door and look. You'll see his keychain right there. I don't know why this is suddenly like I don't know why this 12-year-old is suddenly, like, just terribly Southern. I don't know why he sounds like this. I think I just like doing his voice sometimes. You're lying, I said. Holden shrugged. You can check if you want. Just open your parents' door and look. You'll see his keychain right there on the nightstand. Stay here, I told both of them. Don't move a muscle. I hurried over to my parents' room, but hesitated at the door. If Holden wasn't lying, my dad would be angry. Beyond angry. I was scared thinking about it, but more scared of an open window with the whistler right outside. I opened the door, barely an inch, and looked in, but it was too dark to see. Taking a deep breath, I walked into the room. 2 steps into the dark, I froze. The whistling started, and I could hear it clearly, from my parents' room. I never realized, but they must have heard the sound every night since we moved into the house. They never told us. I don't think I could have slept through it. I stood there, listening to the whistling coming closer, unsure whether I should turn on a light or call out for my dad. Soft sounds from the living room brought me back to reality. Nola, I yelled, running out of my parents' room. Holden and Nola were standing near the front door next to a window. Holden wasn't lying. I could see him fumbling with the lock on one of the blinds. I heard a click. He did have the key. Holden let out a quick laugh. Nola stood next to him, hunched up, afraid but maybe curious. The whistling was right outside our house now. I think I made a sound, called out. I can't remember. Time felt frozen. Clock hands nailed to the face. But I found myself moving. I'm not fast. I've never been athletic. Somehow, though, I covered the space between myself and Nola in a moment. My eyes were locked on her, but I heard Holden pull the blind all the way down so it could release. I heard the snap of it start to raise. I heard the whistling just on the other side of the window. But I had my arms around Nola, and I turned us so she was facing away from the window. At the same time, I jammed my eyes shut. The blind whipped open. The whistling stopped. I felt Nola shaking in my arms. Don't look, okay, I told her. Don't turn around. We were positioned so that she was facing back towards the hallway, and I was facing the window. My eyes were still closed. I felt her nod into my shoulder. I reached out with an arm not holding Nala to try to touch Holden. My hand brushed against his arm. He was shaking worse than Nala. Holden? I asked. Silence. I reached past him and gingerly felt for the window, eyes still sealed shut. The glass was cold against my fingertips, colder than it should have been for this time of year. I moved my hand up the window, searching for the string to the blind. The glass began to get warmer, and the further I reached, and there was a gentle hum feeding back into my fingertips. I tried not to think about what might be on the other side of the window. Finally, I touched the string and yanked the blinds shut. I opened my eyes. In the dim light leaking out from the kitchen, I could make out Holden, pale and small, staring at the now closed window. "Holden?" I asked again. He turned toward me, and he screamed. "Ah!" He went like this. "Ah!" He went like... Everything became a flurry of motion. Lights sparked to life in the hall, then the living room. My parents' footsteps thudded across the hardwood floor. I didn't turn to look back at them. My eyes were glued to Holden. He was pale, had bit his lips so hard that there was a thin red line of blood running down his chin, and he'd wet himself. Little pee-pee baby. Little fucking pee-pee baby. Sees a horrible ghost outside. Pees self. What a baby loser. Rip to you, but I'm different. I'd look at the horrible apparition, and I'd be like, nuh-uh. This pee is staying in my balls where it is stored. Did the murder ghost scare you, idiot child? What happened? My dad asked from behind me. I managed to swivel away from Holden to look back. He looked. I'd never seen my dad scared before, but I saw it that night. In that moment, an old, ugly terror stitched on his face. A parent's fear. "Just Holden?" he mouthed to me. I nodded yes. My dad let out a breath. He looked so relieved I nearly expected him to cheer, but then he turned to Holden and my dad's face changed. I wondered if he felt bad for feeling good that Holden was the only one that looked. There was a knock at the door. We all froze. Holden whimpered. "Don't answer it," my mom said. She stood at the threshold of the hall. I'd always thought she was a skeptic and just humored my dad about the windows and the Whistler, but that night we were all believers. I noticed that both of my parents held baseball bats they must have taken from their bedroom. The knock came again, a little louder this time. "Please don't open the door," Holden whispered. "Please don't open the door," Holden whispered. "I don't want anyone to see my pee-pee pants. Please, I don't want anyone to see my pee-pee pants. I've already embarrassed myself in front of the murder ghost." My dad walked over to him, hugged him close. "We won't," my dad promised, still holding his bat. "Nothing is coming in here tonight." This time the knocking was loud enough to rattle the door. Holden screamed again, and Nola clutched her arms around my neck. My mom came over and knelt down to us, wrapping my sister and me close. "Call the police," my mom whispered to my dad. The knocking instantly stopped. My dad looked over his shoulder at us. "Do you think?" He was cut off by frantic knocking that trailed off into a polite tap, tap, tap. "Police," something said from the other side of the door. The voice from outside sounded exactly like my mom, like a parrot repeating the words back to her. "Police. Call the police. Police." My mom pulled us closer. "Police, police, 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 ha-cha-cha." Anyway. "Please stop," I heard her whisper. "I don't think calling them will help," my dad said. "How will we know when they're the ones at the door?" The knocking came back harder than before. The door shook, then it stopped. After a long moment, I heard the knocking again, but it was coming from our back door. We all turned together towards the back door, but the knocking immediately returned to the front door. Front to back, back to front. Loud, then quiet, then loud again. Suddenly, the sound was coming from both doors at once. Big, heavy blows like a sledgehammer. Then something started rapping against all the windows of the house. "I'm the murder ghost, and I'm here to say that you're gonna die in a horrible way." Anyway. It was like we were living inside a drum with a dozen people trying to play at once, or we were a turtle and something was attempting to claw us out of our shell. "Stop!" Holden yelled. "Stop!" Holden yelled. The knocking died. "I won't tell," Holden said, staring at the door. "I promise I won't tell anyone what I saw. Just please go away." We waited for nearly a minute. Then we heard it. A soft tap, tap, tapping coming from the window Holden had looked through earlier. Holden started to cry, sobbing like a prisoner watching gallows be built outside their cell. My dad held him, brushed his hair, but never lied to him, never told him things would be okay. The tapping at the window went on for the rest of the night. We huddled together in the living room for I don't know how long. Eventually, my mom tried to take us kids into my room while my dad stayed to watch the door. But the second we moved into my bedroom, the knocking came back, so loud it was impossible to ignore. So loud it was possible to ignore. I think they meant impossible, but whatever. I was afraid the door couldn't take it. We went back to the living room and the knocking stopped. Only the tap, tap, tap on the window remained. None of us slept that night. The tapping stopped around 7 a.m. That's about the time the sun comes up here. We waited another 2 hours before my dad opened the blinds from one window. He made us all go back to my parents' bedroom first. I heard him open the door and then come back in. Okay, he told us, it's done. Holden's parents came back around lunchtime. My mom and dad walked Holden over to his house, and they all went inside for quite a while. Nola and I watched from the window. She stuck to me the whole day, right at my side, sometimes holding my hand. When my parents came back, they looked grim, but wouldn't tell us what they said to Holden's family. It was a Sunday, so we all spent the day together, ordered a pizza, and watched movies. So our neighbor kid might be about to be intensely turbo murdered by the evil murder ghost. Let's get pizza, though. Let's just not think about it. Don't think about it. Never you mind all that. That night, everyone slept in my room. Nola and my mom in the bed with me, my dad in the chair he'd pulled over. There was no knocking that night, or any night since. We didn't see much of Holden or his parents for the rest of the week, but by Thursday, there was a moving truck in their driveway. Nola and I watched them packing up the whole afternoon after school. What sticks with me most is how tired Holden and his parents looked. All three had the same pallor, grim mouths and lightless eyes. Even from across the street, I could tell something was very wrong. Holden and his family were gone before sunset. I remember what the original welcoming committee said to my parents when we moved in. Not everyone who looks at the Whistler dies, but even those that live have the light go out of them, and the rest of their lives are full of misfortune, a million little tragedies. I think Holden's parents must have looked, either to comfort him if they didn't believe, or share the burden if they did. I watch Nola some days, happy and young and alive, and I wonder if I'd been slower, if she'd looked out the window that night, would I have looked too? To comfort her? To share that burden? I'm glad I don't have to find out. We still live in that house, in that neighborhood. We still hear our Whistler walking past every night. The blessings, the luck, the good things here are too good to leave, but we're careful. We don't have friends over to spend the night anymore, and my dad hides the key into the blinds very, very well. Not that I've gone looking. Sometimes, some things you just don't need to look for. Hey, that was pretty good. I'm okay with that. I like that one. That was very like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Goosebumps, kind of, like I could see that being like a kid's short horror story. That was pretty good. I like that one. Posted by Grand Theft Motto. Hey, good job. I like that one. That was actually very solid. Thank you for a good no sleep story. Because boy, sometimes we choose one and we're like, well, all right, that was something. I am looking through the top rated of all time, so that's, yeah. So maybe we'll find some other good ones. I'm having fun, so I'm gonna keep going. Let's see if we can find another good one. Maybe at least just one more. Let's see. She sold happiness in glass jars. Sold in jars, called today. Underneath the text with the phone number. Oh, this is from a user named Flard. I think we should give Flard a chance. Okay. She sold happiness in glass jars. There we go. The poster read, "Happiness, sold in glass jars. Call today." And underneath the text was a phone number. I was walking home from a long, exhausting day of work when I caught a glimpse of the paper stapled on an old telephone pole. I took a picture of it, thinking it was amusing. I was going to show my wife once I got to our apartment, but I was caught up with chores and forgot about it. Dinner, dishes, laundry, packing a snack for our daughter, putting her to bed, then putting her toys away that she left out in the living room. Then I had to seal up all the shutters so that the whistling man didn't... Oh, wait, nope, hold on, different story. Spooky, I have tried to call you over here so many fucking times. And now you're running away again. God, you're such... I love you so much. You're such a little... You're such a little malfunctioning printer. I call her that sometimes because she'll just meow like... Meow. Anyway. It's called cocaine. Okay. Doing my chores, putting away daughter's toys. Every night it was the exact same routine. The next day, I awoke sleeping back to back with my wife. I always had to get up earlier than she did for my job, so I quietly got ready for the day and headed out the door. At work, I was updating my company's latest expense report. Most days were similar to this one. They were basically paying me to stare at a computer for 9 hours a day and input a couple numbers into a spreadsheet. I finished my work very quickly, so I decided to head out of the office early. It also helped that it was a Friday, and a lot of people leave early at the end of the week. On my walk back, I was thinking of what my life had become. I did this often. I always dreamed of traveling when I was younger. I wanted to drive across the country or solo backpack across Europe. Then I met Kelsey. Don't get me wrong, I loved Kelsey. I mean, I still do. We just don't have that spark anymore. When you meet someone and get in a relationship, whether it's meant to be or not, some of your personal life plans have to be put on hold. And then that relationship turns into a marriage, and then you have a baby, and then you have to enroll your daughter in preschool, and then you have to get a better paying job and work more hours and blah, 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 blah. Excuse me, that's only a problem for you people. That's only a problem for you straight people. That's only a problem for you straight people who are like, oh, we gotta have a kid, and we gotta have a nice house. Unless if you're like one of us, like LGBT plus ass people, we all live in fucking boxes. We all live on what we can, and we're like, no children, not gonna happen. Unless some of us are well off enough to like adopt, and they actually let. Anyway, not important. I'm not trying to throw a pity party for myself. I'm just saying I wasn't exactly content with where I was in my life. I wouldn't have referred to myself as a happy person. As I took the same route home that I did every day to work and back, I walked by the same poster I had passed the day before. I don't know why, I really don't, but I decided to call the number. I figured it would be some joke. Maybe someone just picks up and says, "I love you," on the other end and hangs up. Or maybe it's a line to a sex worker. I had no idea what to expect. I have many littles, but no children. I have one, and it's my cat. I called. It only rang once before someone picked up. "Hello?" a woman said. Hi, I'm calling about your poster, your ad." "Oh, awesome," she said calmly. I shouldn't do that. I don't know what this voice is that I'm doing. "When do you want to pick it up?" "Pick what up?" "The jar," she said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Oh, of course. I realized then that I had left work early without telling Kelsey, so I could just pick it up now and she'd be none the wiser." "What exactly is it that you're selling?" "I just told you. It's happiness in a glass jar." Happiness comes in a little glass jar. A little glass jar. A little glass jar. There you go. Little reference for all you Repo the Genetic Opera fans. "I just told you it's happiness, like in a glass jar, like the poster said. Happiness keeps best in glass jars. They're more durable than, say, a plastic bag." Okay, should we meet somewhere?" "For sure. I don't want you to end up being a creep or something, so let's go to a public place." The public place we decided on was a Starbucks parking lot a little over a mile from me. Now, I didn't think I was really going to be buying a jar of happiness or whatever. I was 99% sure she was going to sell me drugs. Maybe heroin would be in the jar. I remember thinking, oh no, happiness is probably a nickname for some street drug, then I'm going to a drug deal. What if she's a cop? Am I going to be arrested? But something inside me told me to keep walking. And so I did. That's called being stupid. That's your brain giving you stupid decision juice. That's you ignoring the common sense to walk away from this fucking weird deal. The twist is you get addicted to happiness and realize your life is shit and nothing ever feels good again because it's just fentanyl. It's a jar of fentanyl-laced gummy bears. I stood outside and texted her. I'm here. Cool, be there in a sec. What are you driving? Silver Camry. And as her final text came through, I saw her car pull in. She took a spot not too far from where I stood. I could see there was no one else in the car, which put my kidnapping fear to rest. She opened her door and stood on the pavement, looking around until her eyes met mine. I gave her a little nod of acknowledgement. She simply responded by waving her hand, gesturing for me to come over to her car. So I did. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with curly golden hair. Her skin was pale and contrasted with the all-black outfit she was wearing. I thought she looked like Glinda the Good Witch from Wizard of Oz had put on the Wicked Witch's clothes. Nice day out, she said as a greeting. Oh yeah, it is. I hadn't really paid attention to it. You were the one who called about the jar, right? Yeah, that was me. Cool, well, here you go. She handed me a very small glass mason jar. It couldn't have been more than 2 inches tall. Inside of it was a light. Not a light bulb, just light. It was like someone bottled up sunshine. It glowed even in the mid-afternoon daylight. It looked like a tiny sun, or a tiny universe existing in this little crystal-walled home. I was admiring it with no attempt to hide the awe on my face. Pretty rad, isn't it? What? What is it? You asked that like 3 different times? I think my answer is still the same. It is happiness. Happiness. In a glass jar. In a little glass jar? A little glass jar. What do I do with it? Keep it, she said simply. If you have any problems, shoot me a text. I don't know why that's... This weird voice I've given this woman is suddenly morphed into a surfer for no reason. If you have any problems, shoot me a text. She started to get into her car. Wait, I said, I thought you were selling this. How much is it? Don't worry, man, she said with a smile. You'll pay. She closed her door, and I stepped out of her way as she backed up, then drove off. What the hell had just happened? What was I holding? I looked down at the jar again. Its radiance was simply mesmerizing. I put it in my pocket and could see its glow slightly through my pants. Boys love me for the glow that they can see slightly through my pants. I began to walk home. What was just a nice sunny day quickly changed into a rainy one with the clouds wrapping the sky. It was not forecasted that it would rain, or else I would have ridden the bus or the subway to work that day. I jogged home, trying not to get too drenched. I finally found shelter once I made it to my apartment building. I walked up to my door and found that my key wasn't on my keyring anymore. Shit, I can't believe I lost it again, I thought. I knocked on the door and said in a somewhat loud voice, Hey, babe, it's me! I don't know what happened to my key. I heard the door being unlocked from the other side. When the door opened, I was greeted by a large, heavy-set man with greasy hair and an unkempt goatee. He said, I think you got the wrong door, bud. Oh, I said, disoriented. My bad. Sorry. Have a good one. He let out a chuckle as he closed the door. Apartment number 33. I know that was my apartment. I know it was. I've been in apartment 33 for 5 years now. But that was not my apartment. From what I could see inside, all the furniture was different. It was painted a different color. It was all wrong. I felt like I'd hit my head and was drugged. In that moment, nothing made sense. I pulled out my phone to call Kelsey so she could calm me down and tell me I just got confused for a second. But her contact wasn't in my phone. In fact, nothing was in my phone. I had no messages with her. No previous calls, no pictures. It was like my phone reset to its factory settings. Did that girl somehow switch my phone out when I wasn't looking? I would have just dialed Kelsey's number manually, but I couldn't quite remember it. I had known it by heart before, but not anymore. I needed to get back to the office. I had all my contacts backed up on my work computer. This thing is like sapping his happiness, isn't it? You'll pay by losing everything to be happy, Buddhism. So when does the happiness start? Since it was still raining, I hopped on the bus, which had to stop right in front of the apartment complex. I rode downtown towards my office, the whole time staring at my wet shoes, wondering what the hell was going on. Oh, well, your shoes got wet because you were in the rain. Solve that for you. We have a key... I was looking at my wet shoes, wondering how did they get wet? We have a key card access to our building, so only authorized personnel can get inside. I always keep my access card in my wallet. Always. But surprise, surprise, it wasn't there. I buzzed into the speaker we had for guests with appointments and employees as a backup in case anyone lost or forgot their card. Hey, this is Tim. I must have lost my card. My employee number is... I stopped as I drew a blank. A voice came through the speaker. Tim, you got cut out. What's your employee number? I can't remember. That's fine. Just tell me your full name and department. Finance. I'm in finance. My full name is Tim Brooks. 1 sec. About 30 seconds later, the man spoke to me again. We don't have a Tim Brooks that works in this building. Did you have an appointment with someone? I backed up in surprise, almost tripping on my own feet. I had just been in that office an hour or two ago. What was happening to me? I felt like I was getting Alzheimer's, but going through every stage in one day. I stared at my hands, unsure if I was in the right body. I felt like the world around me was disintegrating. I wasn't in control. I was merely sitting inside someone else's head, watching the world through their eyes. Just then I got a text. I recognized the number immediately. It was that girl, the one who gave me the jar. I had forgotten all about it until I saw her text. Hey, how's it going? I looked at my phone, dumbfounded. It made me angry she was so nonchalant about this. She knew what was going on. She had to know somehow. What the hell did you do to me? The worst is yet to come. I was astronomically close to just chucking my phone as far as I could in frustration. I took the jar out of my pocket. It looked unchanged, still glowing just as bright. What the fuck did you do? I yelled at the jar, realizing I probably looked like a lunatic. It's just me yelling at my fucking mug. What did you fucking do? Where's the Joker? As I stared at its glistening glass, I realized something. I didn't know what my wife's face looked like anymore. I knew her name. Well, I know it started with a K or maybe a C. I couldn't picture her in my mind. I knew I had a wife. I knew I did. Yes, because I had a daughter. I had a wife and daughter. I just couldn't remember their faces then, or their names, or their birthdays, or any memories I had with them. I know they existed. They did exist. I had just seen them that morning, right? I couldn't remember how she looked or what she smelled like. What was our first date? We had a wedding, right? What about our first kiss? Or my daughter? Or was it my son? Maybe I didn't even have a kid. But my wife, or girlfriend, she was real. I know she was. I knew she was real. Because I could at least still remember the smell of her farts. No. My wife. Oh no, I can't remember my wife. Introduction to Scientology. First yelling at jars, then at ashtrays. My wife. I knew I had a wife. My wife. I couldn't see her in my head. I couldn't recall a single fact about her. I was standing outside of the same building, but I was unsure why I was. Did I work there? I must work somewhere. The rain was accompanied by a chilly wind now. It was whipping at my face, making my nose and cheeks sting. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be with her. I wanted to be warm. I wanted to go into a shitty office job that kept a roof over my head. I wanted it all. I was soaking wet. I was miserable. I couldn't remember my parents or my childhood. Did I even have friends? Why was I in the rain? I looked down at my hand. I was still clutching the jar. The only memory of my entire life I could concretely remember was that girl giving it to me, telling me it was happiness. It did not bring happiness. It brought pain. It brought suffering. I was more miserable in that moment than I had ever been. My phone buzzed. Break the jar, Tim. Break the jar, Shinji. I looked at my other hand. With the setting sun and the rainy sky, I swear the jar glowed brighter than any street light near me. I didn't break it because I was following her instruction. I broke it because I was angry. I broke it because I was upset. I needed a release. I raised my arm above my head and brought it down with one swift motion, shattering the jar on the concrete beneath my feet. That dark, chilly air accompanying the rain spread away like it was the shockwave of a bomb going off, and I was at the epicenter. I saw the warm yellow light from inside the jar spread rapidly across the ground and ascend into the sky. It was as if I was watching the beginnings of the universe being created, like God had just snapped his fingers and said, "Let there be light." I was engulfed in it. I could no longer see street or rain, or anything dark. I felt like I was plummeting into a star going faster than the speed of light. It felt like sitting in front of a fire on a cold winter's night, but that warmth was covering every inch of my body. So it was sucking your happiness, it made your life shit, and now you broke it, and everything's gonna be normal again, and then you're gonna be like, oh, the lesson was, and say, hey, like what you have, you stupid idiot. And then she's gonna be like, ha 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 ha. And then I blinked. Immediately I could feel the sheets beneath me, and my back barely touching my wife's. My wife's! I was staring out the window. The morning light drenched through the glass and gleamed on my face. I stood up from my bed and grabbed my phone. It was Friday morning. I had one text. Let me know if you ever need another jar. I called in sick to work. I snuck into my daughter's room and greeted her with a kiss and told her she didn't have to go to preschool today. We were going to have a family day. She smiled and stretched out her arms with a yawn before curling up and falling. She was like, okay, that's nice, Dad. I'm going to fucking sleep. That's cool. I got back in bed and squeezed my wife tightly. I didn't let go for hours. Our daughter came into our room and woke us up eventually. She was jumping on the bed and shouting for us to wake up. Yesterday, I may have found that annoying. Yesterday, I may have found a lot of things of annoying or monotonous or dull. But not today, because a contrived plot device taught me that everything was fine and that things could be worse. I pulled her under the covers between me and Kelsey. Today was going to be a good day. Today, I was happy. I'm still really dysphoric, and I'm being hunted by the anti-trans forces. I didn't need a reset. Oh boy, okay, alright. That one, Like, okay, was it competently told? Yes. Was it anything new? Kinda no. That was so cishet, I'm a dude again. That was so cishet, I'm fucking male. Do I want to keep going? Something happened 63 years ago that's haunted my entire life, and I've never told anyone about it until now. I sharded. I met someone who claimed to be the devil, and I think I believe them. Don't let them in. If you're armed at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot. Oh, jeez. Okay. If you can see this, it is very important you keep reading. Nah. My son's camera monitor alerted in the middle of the night. I checked it and saw my wife and son sitting on the bed. They weren't my wife and son. How do I get my girlfriend to knock off this annoying habit? Started whistling. Oh no, whistling. We know that's bad. Whistling's bad. You can't whistle in scary stories. All right, I'll check it out. How do we get our girlfriend to knock off this annoying habit? So I've been dating my girlfriend for almost a year, and last month we moved in together. Maybe that's kind of fast. I don't know. My parents sure thought it was, but honestly, everything was great in the beginning. We get along really well, and we've never had more than a brief argument. But then she started whistling, and I fucking hate music. I hate music. Just awful. Hate it. It's so dumb, I know, but she's always whistling this weird song, and it really gets on my nerves. My mom kept telling me that once you move in with someone, you discover all the quirks they've been hiding from you. And it's not like I didn't expect that to be true, but for some reason, this is just an ongoing issue with us, and I don't know what to do. At first, I would just hear her whistling. At first, I would just hear her whistling when she was showering. It was kind of cute, like her own little bathroom theme song. I didn't recognize the melody, but it was very distinct. I can mimic it from memory if I wanted to. In fact, sometimes it gets stuck in my head and drives me a little crazy. You know the type. After a week or so, I asked her what the song was, and she just laughed. I'm wondering if maybe she came up with it on her own, something that she does absently, especially since once she started doing it more, like I'd be reading a book and she'd be on the computer, and she'd just start whistling. and I tried to ignore it. I seriously feel like a dick for being so grumpy about it. And I know she wasn't doing it to annoy me, but she'd just go on and on and on. It would pull my attention away from whatever I was doing. So I finally said something a few nights ago. I was going over some legal documents for work, and she just starts whistling like crazy, on and on and on and on and on. And I'm trying to block it out, but it's seriously excessive. Like, I know you guys are probably thinking that I was overreacting, but it felt like she was whistling right into my ear, and it just frayed my last bit of patience. She's a whistle siren. She kept going outside at 3 a.m. to whistle for some reason. As calmly and nicely as I could, I called out to her and asked her to quiet down. She didn't reply, and I asked again. And she still didn't answer, so I left the bedroom and found her in the living room, watching a movie. She wasn't whistling anymore, and for some reason, that really irked me. It felt like she was messing with me, and she just looked over at me like she didn't know what my deal was. I asked her if she could stop whistling so much, and she told me she wasn't whistling. Now, I get that maybe she doesn't realize she's doing it, but no one whistles that much and doesn't notice. It's not really like her to mess with me like that, and I don't know what she's trying to get out of this. I thought maybe she was teasing or playing a joke, but she had to see how annoyed I was. I asked her again to just not whistle so loudly, and she didn't answer. There was a tension in the room, and it felt like our first fight since moving in together. Even though she didn't whistle for the rest of the night, I couldn't focus on my work anyway because I was so upset about the confrontation. Then, of course, the next night, she was whistling again. I hear her when she comes home from work, and she keeps going on for at least an hour. I didn't want to have another fight, so I just hung out in the bedroom and listened to her move around for a while. I felt like I was blowing things out of proportion, but honestly, how hard is it to just not whistle all the time? It was no big deal when it was now and then, but I feel like she whistles more than she even talks to me now. So I'm sitting up in the room thinking about that, and that's probably why I was so worked up when I finally came down. She was cooking dinner, which is sweet, but she was still whistling, so I said softly, "Hey, honey, maybe we should put on some music instead so you don't have to fill the silence with whistling." I tried to play it off like a joke, but I knew she'd probably see through it and get annoyed again. She didn't even turn to face me, just huffed and kept cooking. After a minute, I told her I was sorry about the other night, but the whistling just sort of strikes my ear wrong, and if she could try not to whistle so much and so loudly, it would make my life a lot easier. I feel like I was being fair. I know it seems controlling and nitpicky, but it was bothering me a lot. We all have our things, you know? I try not to chew loudly at the table because it bothers her, so why can't she stop whistling sometimes for me? But she totally freaked out. She turned around and told me she wasn't whistling. She didn't know what my problem was. At this point, I don't get why she was doing this. It obviously wasn't funny for either of us, and she seemed genuinely upset, so I don't know why she kept provoking me. I asked her what her deal was. Why was she so defensive about the stupid whistling? And she told me to shut up. She told me she was sick of talking about it, like I was the one being unreasonable. I never get mad at her, but I just snapped. I told her to stop whistling before I lost my mind. She called me crazy just because I was getting a little upset, and somehow that was all I could take. I grabbed one of the cast iron pans from the stove and swung. Jesus, dude! Jesus, fucking calm down! Good lord. This is an am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for caving in my girlfriend's head with a frying pan because she wouldn't stop whistling? She fell over and smashed her head on the counter, but I swung the pan again before she hit the ground. I think I hit her maybe 3 or 4 times. I don't remember, but I feel horrible. God, I hate it. I hate stories where the pro tag just goes fucking Joker mode and just they're just like, oops, they're the killer, man. But I feel horrible. There was blood everywhere, and her jaw might be broken. No, I think it is for sure. I couldn't believe I'd lost my temper like that. I have no idea how we can move past this. I feel so ashamed for letting things get physical, regardless of how much she might have been provoking me. I bashed her on the head, but I feel so bad. Wait a minute. I'm looking at there's a raid. Oh my god. Yeah, this is a weird time to raid. Reading a NoSleep story where the punchline is, oops, I caved in my girlfriend's head with a frying pan. But with that said, hello. Welcome to the stream. Oh, my cat is still up. Let's put my cat away. Welcome to the stream. I am Dunwich, aka Dunny. I do read streams. I am a slime. This is my chair. We were initially reading from a collection of stories by Clark Ashton Smith. which was really good at first, but it started to really kind of drag, and I was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I just got really tired. It was very thick with old-timey weird fiction speak, and I was like, I don't have the energy for this. So that's why we're doing some no sleep stories to fill out the rest of the stream time. I think I've got maybe one more left in me, and then we'll probably put it up for the night. But that said, thank you. Like I said, thank you for the raid. That was lovely of you. I hope you all hang out and have a good time. Anyway, this is a story where some lady wouldn't stop whistling and then read something less domestic murder. Yeah, that's pretty much what this ended with. But here's the kicker. Oh, wait a minute. What just happened? Let's see. She won't stop whistling. She's been on the floor with her eyes rolled back and her mouth hanging open, just marinating in congealed blood, but she's still whistling. I don't know what to do. I don't want to break up, but this is just too much. Yeah, okay, all right. Cool. You went Joker mode. Got it. I get it. All right. All right, let's see if we can find another one. Let's find another one. Let's see. Something happened 63 years ago that's haunted me my entire life, and I've never told anyone about it. I sharded, and I never told... Another raid? What? What in the world? Face implosion. Face implosion. Face implosion. Is that you? Face implosion. Who let you out of the burn ward? Welcome, Face implosion. Good to see you. Good to see you. 2 raids in one day. Oh my. Me oh me oh my. I met someone who claimed to be the devil, and I think I believe that. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I don't think I took y'all with me to the stream screen. Hello again, Face implosion. I hope you're well. Let's see. If you're... Oh, right. If you're armed at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. Read the Whistler one again. Trust me. Let's see. If you can see this, it is very important. No. My son's camera monitor. No. How do I get my girlfriend to knock off this annoying habit? Maria on the Moon. Okay. This was written by Grand Theft Auto, who did the other good story that we read. They did the whistling story. They did the whistling story we did a little bit ago. So I'm gonna try this one. I'm gonna see what else Grand Theft Auto can give us. And this is called Maria on the Moon. Oh, what's up? What is up? Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't want to read through the whole Whistler story again, although that was a good story. That was a good story. Oh, wait, no, I get it. I get what you're trying to tell me, Machine Elves. Like, this was the bad whistle story. Let's do the good whistle story now. Anyway, okay. Let's go. Maria on the Moon. Did you know that early astronomers thought there were oceans on the moon? I asked, looking up from my book. My mom shifted in her bed, a tangle of IV tubes shifting with her. Of course, the moon seemed like a perfect place to find an ocean. What a shame we never found water, I said. Because those false seas, astronomers called them Maria. Mom smiled. How sweet of them to name the moon oceans after me. Well, they didn't find any oceans, I reminded her. Maybe they just didn't look hard enough, she replied, a little laugh slipping from her lips. For all the pain she was in, all of the fear she must feel, my mother always had a kind of laugh that could light a candle. We were in her hospital room, the same one we'd been in and out of for the last year and a half. Sometimes we had a roommate, sometimes we were alone. Always she held steady enough for both of us. The rock I tied my hope to, the wall against the grief I knew was coming. Cancer is such a mundane word for something so hungry and cruel. I've noticed medicine does that a lot. Covers horror with tedious language like a bedsheet over a body. Malignant, inoperable, metastasized, terminal. But when she laughed, we weren't in the hospital anymore. We were home. When she laughed, she wasn't sick. She was young again, and I was a kid, and the world was a bright place begging to be explored. What a miracle my mother was. Cancer had taken so much from her, aged and hurt her, but it could never steal her laugh. That was hers to keep. "How are we feeling today?" the doctor asked. He came in less and less often. We could all sense that this was his final stay in this room. I'm just brilliant, Doc. I have throbbing turbo cancer. Anyway. "Just brilliant, Doc," my mom said, struggling to sit a little higher. "We can still go dancing later if you like, though we'll have to ask for my son's blessing. Ever since his dad died, Brian over here has been real protective." I put on a stern face. "I'll need to know your intentions are pure, Dr. Bradshaw." "As the driven snow," he played along. "But I might need a rain check on the dance, Miss Willen. I'm not as young as I used to be. And also, you're dead. You're dying. You're 100% throbbingly turbo dead. Just saying." He emphasized his age, running his fingers through his gray-white hair. My mom tapped her bare scalp. "Right there with you, Tiger," she said. Dr. Bradshaw smiled, but I could tell he was burdened. I saw him glance at the small idol I'd placed on my mother's nightstand. The talisman was a miniature oak tree carved from gray soapstone. There were 4 faces etched into the tree, a sentry against ill health and bitter spirits. I could tell the stone tree made the doctor uncomfortable. In all honesty, I had a tough time looking at the idol for more than a few seconds. The faces were each whittled with vivid expression. The face closest to my mother's bed was smiling kindly, and the face pointed towards the door was snarling, meant to ward away harm. The final 2 faces were both weeping. All 4 shapes were too human, too raw. There was a weirdness to the stone tree that put people on edge, but I'd grown used to every shade of weird you can imagine. My mother's side of the family was full of stories of unexplained luck and mysterious tragedy, whispered secrets and unexplained deaths. By all accounts, my maternal grandmother was either an honest-to-goodness witch or a full-bore, high-caliber crazy, or both. Probably both. The stone tree was from a box of my grandmother's things I had found in the attic earlier that month. Maybe it was just a coincidence, but my mom did seem to get better when I'd brought in the talisman, at least for a little while. I was daydreaming about family history and the odd box while Dr. Bradshaw checked his charts and Mom's vitals. Can I talk to you for a moment? Can I talk to you for a moment? He asked, ripping me back to reality. Dr. Bradshaw tried to keep a light tone, but I could tell he didn't have good news. The hospital hallway smelled like ammonia and birthday cake. Someone must have had a party. Maybe a patient, maybe a nurse. Strange how you remember this insignificant details while your world is crashing down around you. I'm so sorry, Dr. Bradshaw told me. The results came in this morning. It's spreading aggressively. This new TikTok dance, it's all over the place. We can't make it stop. It's so annoying. We're talking Baby Shark doot levels of super annoying and all over the place. I don't know what we're gonna do. Also, your mom's gonna fucking die. We held it back as long as we could, Brian. We stood at the gates. We stood at the gates to Mordor, and we held back the cancer for as long as we could. But Frodo just didn't make it to the volcano to throw in the ring that would have cured your mom's cancer. Everyone laughed. This was a good joke that I was doing. This was a good bit. All of you laughed. Do it right now. Anyway. But right now, we just need to try and keep her as comfortable as we can. Brian? The wall was cracking, grief waiting on the other side, heavy and cold as an empty house. I'd known for months that this was the likely outcome, but it still hurt to hear. Hurt worse than I could stomach. There's nothing left to try? I asked, fighting down the urge to throw up. Anything experimental, untested, anything? Dr. Bradshaw shook his head. I'm sorry. Sometimes we just run out of options. She fought a good fight. How long does she have left? I asked, looking back into her room. She'd fallen asleep. Not long. Maybe days. Have you considered hospice? The smell of ammonia and birthday cake, the steady beep of my mom's heart monitor. I tried to focus on the world around me. My hope wasn't dead yet. If medicine couldn't help my mom, maybe something older could. I thought of the box of my grandmother's things waiting in the attic. There was a lot in there I hadn't gone through yet. Books and candles and secrets and lost things. Maybe there was a cure, or at least a way to keep the fight going. So... just imagine it, like, this guy is just like, okay, modern medicine failed my mom, but I have a box of old haunted shit in my attic that the grandmother left behind. There's gotta be something I can make a deal with in there. Anyways, time to do unethical experiments on my cancer mom. Oh god. Okay, my first thought when you said that, I could see that being like a light novel title. The time I did unethical experiments on my cancer. Ew. Actually, I kind of hate it now. I hate it now. I don't like it anymore. I'm removing this joke from the timeline. I'm removing it. I'm using Killer Queen. I'm removing it. Never said. Anyway. No, I said. If all that's left is to make her comfortable, I want to take her home. The doctor smiled. I understand. We can give you some medication, ways to help her with the pain. He put his hand on my shoulder. Your mom's been in a lot of pain, but she'll have peace soon. You've done all you can. I know, I lied. Thank you. Mom lived in a small ranch house 10 miles outside of town. There wasn't much in the way of neighbors besides some woods and a creek slithering through her yard. It was a windy, warm March afternoon when I took my dying mother home. That night I began my work. I was going to turn the house into a bunker, a maze death could never solve. I would keep my mother safe. I would find a way to keep her alive. The little red book was full of ideas. Running water was an obvious place to start. The creek behind the house was barely a trickle, but it should provide some coverage to the south side of the property. This dude, okay, this guy is setting up a tower defense against death from getting to his mom. This guy's about to pull some Plants vs. Zombies nonsense in order to keep death away. He's gonna be setting up the perimeter. He's becoming the final girl in a death-based slasher. The final destination death is coming, and he's gonna try and keep it away. Salt was next, lining the doorways and window frames, then in an unbroken circle around the entire house. This step was to be repeated daily. The red book stressed, or even multiple times per day. Even a moderate breeze played holy havoc with any salt poured outside, so it was always best to trace and retrace every few hours. Water and salt were common defenses against man's oldest enemy and well known. The book offered other, less conventional advice. It took me nearly a week to finish carving the symbols and signs into the walls and floors, even the trees on the property. Sometime around noon on the third day, on my back, in the crawl space, etching strange marks onto the underside of the floor, it struck me how ridiculous I was acting. There was no proof that any of the information in the little red book was anything other than the delusional ramblings of a bizarre woman I'd only met once or twice as a child. For all I knew, the runes meant to ward off death were actually a grocery list written in Cantonese. But I was desperate, and every time I saw my mother she looked frailer, more fragile, so I continued carving and praying and building layers upon layers of protections to keep death away. It took me a week to carve everything. She had been dead for 2 days, but it felt good. Making my marks took me all over the property. It was a big yard, nearly 3 acres that blended gradually into the surrounding forest. I wasn't able to pinpoint the exact boundary where I wasn't able to pinpoint the exact boundary where cultivated met nature. The edges simply bled together, but I did my best to create a clean border with lines between the symbols. I'd always loved the wilderness here. The way you could wander a few hundred yards away from home and feel like you'd traveled hundreds of years into the past to somewhere primal. This was the perfect playground for a kid. Whether I was out exploring trails or trapping minnows or spending the summer building yet another treehouse, convinced this would be the final one. It never was. I was never satisfied. The house itself, though small, was more than enough room for my mother and me. Dad died when I was 7. I don't remember much about him. Just how big he seemed, with a bonfire grin and arms that... Sorry, I looked away for a second. And arms that I thought could hold the whole world. My mom often said I took after my father. I could see it in the old pictures of him. We had the same eyes, green as moss in the summer, and the same fiery shock of red hair, enemy to every comb on the planet. The sicker Mom got, the more she called me by my father's name. I worried when she drifted away like that, but a part of me was proud she'd mistake me for him. After all the symbols were carved, there were a few steps left in the book to deter death from visiting. There were dozens of charms and talismans in the bottom of the old box at the attic. I sat up there, combing through everything my grandmother left behind, referencing the red book, pushing the tiny charms into tidy piles. None of the idols were larger than my thumb. So were iron, and others were. Some were iron, and others were wood. I can read. You know that I could. Anyway, some were iron. Some were iron, and oh my god, I can't read anymore. Some were iron, and others were wood. Some were heavy, others light. All of them were uncomfortable to look at or touch. The attic was drafty, but not nearly enough to explain the cold that burrowed into me as I sorted the charms. I'm not particularly tall, but the attic felt like it was designed for dolls. Beams so low I couldn't even walk bent over. I moved around on my knees, rough floor. Oh god, I'm dying. I moved around on my knees, rough floorboards threatening splinters even through my jeans. I could have taken the box downstairs where I'd have more room, but the idea filled me with deep unease. It seemed better to leave the box up in the attic, only taking down objects as I needed them. Up here, at least, my grandmother's items, her legacy, was quarantined. Using the last of my water to get me through. Okay. The Red Book was very specific about the distribution of the totems around the house and property. I walked carefully through my mom's backyard, boots plopping in and out of mud, compass in hand. It had rained nearly every day since I'd taken my mom home from the hospital. I knew it was almost certainly a coincidence, but couldn't help wonder if the soft curtains of rain falling to the ground were for her. I placed charms in a compass rose with the house in the middle. The most disturbing objects were given places of honor at each cardinal direction. Water, salt, wards, charms, all placed carefully, intentionally. My grandmother's book promised that these would offer some degree of protection against the inevitability of death. The symbols would confuse it, the talismans would distract it, and the water and salt make barriers to slow it down. But death might still find a crack to slip through, so the Red Book recommended one final Death hates him. Find out this one simple trick. Oh dear, I probably just missed a lot. I just had a real long convo with a neighbor. Don't worry about it. We're on a story where a guy's basically playing tower defense with death to try and keep his mom from going turbo dead. But yeah, don't worry about it. With this one simple trick, piss off death. He's trying to psych out death and not. God damn it. Oh, okay. There was a small candle in the bottom of the box, dirty white as stained paper. When I took the candle from its case, the smell made me gag. Have you ever walked past a portable toilet in the dog days of summer? When it's so hot, the blue plastic has started to warp and bubble? Imagine that smell distilled into a finger's worth of wax. I brought the candle downstairs, placed it on the dining room table, and set it alight. The wick caught immediately, the flame burning an unusual red-brown. No heat came off the candle, and it actually seemed cooler the closer I moved my hand to the fire. Once the wax began to melt, the smell was 10 times worse than it was back in the attic. I choked down a greasy sickness crawling up my throat and quickly left the room, shutting the French doors as I went. That helped trap the odor, but I couldn't shake the sense of nausea. I went to check on my mother. Do you remember the day you ran away? My mom asked, sitting in her bed. No, I'm not going to give her an old lady voice. Never mind. Do you remember the day you ran away? My mom asked, sitting in her bed, lunch untouched on the nightstand beside her. I didn't think she had any weight left to lose before she was nothing but bone and memory. Her skin was rice paper over a frame that seemed smaller every day. Her eyes, though, no matter how fragile the rest of her became, remained 2 little lanterns against the dark, blue and bright and alive. I didn't make it very far, I answered, and I wasn't really running away, only stretching my legs. Mom smiled. You told me you were leaving for the circus. You wanted to be either a lion tamer or a strong man, or maybe a fire eater. I think I wanted to be all of that combined. Young me was big on multitasking. My mother turned, so she was looking out the window into the yard. I was so scared when I found your note, the one saying you were leaving. My hands were shaking like you wouldn't believe when I called the sheriff and then Mr. Jonas down the way. It felt like we were searching for you for half the night, even though it couldn't have been more than an hour before we found you there, lost in the woods, wandering around and shivering. You hadn't even brought a jacket. You stupid idiot. You were such a stupid moron child. Not taking a jacket into the cold, you dummy. You fucking doo-doo brain. I sat next to my mom on the bed. Yeah, I didn't exactly plan ahead for my circus escape. I remember getting over the idea real quick, but I couldn't find my way back. I'm glad you found me. I'm glad too, my mother said, and I noticed her wipe away a tear. I'm so glad. That hour you were gone, Brian, that was the most afraid I'd ever been. Afraid we wouldn't find you, afraid you might be hurt or worse. I couldn't hardly breathe through the fear. Then suddenly, you were there, and the relief nearly knocked me over. I think we stayed up together the rest of the night watching the stars. I wanted to make sure you could find the North Star in case you ever got lost again. She turned back to me, reached out her thin hand, and placed it over mine. There were still tears in her eyes, but she smiled her lighthouse smile, and for a moment I saw her just as she used to be, just as she was the night I ran away and my mom found me. I squeezed her hand. I was scared too. I was afraid I'd be stuck out there. What made you think of it? Well, I've been doing a lot of dying lately, and... I've been doing a lot of dying. Boy, her being alive seems unpleasant for her. You think so, huh? You think? Maybe there might be a moral to this story that if someone's dying, maybe you should just not suffer them to continue living that way. Anyway, we'll see where it goes. Well, I've been thinking a lot about I've been thinking a lot about dying lately. I thought she said I've been doing a lot of dying lately. Thought she was joking. Oh, we've been going too long. I can't. Once we reach the 3-hour mark, I can't read anymore. Don't, I interrupted. Don't talk like that. You're not going anywhere for a long time. It's okay, she said, squeezing my hand back. It's okay. I've known real fear, and what I'm feeling now, it's not like that. I'm scared, I guess, but I'm at peace with it. I had such a beautiful life. I'm so glad I got to meet you, to be your mom. I'm glad too, I whispered, voice breaking on the last word. But I won't let you go without a fight, I added silently in my mind. Something was trying to get to my mom. The strangeness began the day after I lit the candle. At first it was small blips, tiny wrongs that I chalked up to my imagination. Doors I knew I closed at night were open in the morning. Food began to rot and spoil within days of me bringing it into the house. Eventually food would go bad almost immediately. Every few hours the television in the living room would either turn off if it was running or on if it was off. Clocks would stop overnight. Always at 3:03! Oh my god! 3:03 a.m. Oh fuck! Okay, for anyone who wasn't here for the first No Sleep story we did, that story by the same author also had 3:03 in the morning being a very prominent time. So they have once again used 3:03 in the morning. Shadows began sticking to the corners of rooms, independent of any light sources. The shadows were stubborn, and they would linger for as long as I would stare, then disappear when I blinked. I began hearing bumps and knocks at all hours, and sometimes when I'd enter my empty room, I had a sharp, fleeting certainty that it was only just occupied. I avoided the dining room except to check in twice a day to see if the candle was still burning. The smell was vicious and would claw its way into your throat and nostrils the moment it was given a chance. I kept the door to the room shut and kept air fresheners running in the surrounding rooms 24/7. The funny thing was, the candle never went out, never seemed to shrink. I could see the wax melting, but day in, day out, the candle refused to change. Days marched into weeks, and the wrongness only grew deeper. My mom and I both lost sleep to vivid nightmares that we couldn't remember when we woke up. Only the echoes remained, but those were enough to leave my pulse sprinting until morning. I started sleeping in a chair in my mother's room. I did this to comfort her if she woke up confused during the night, but also because, if I'm being honest, I was too scared to sleep alone. I felt like a child running into the parents' room, convinced there was a monster under the bed. Thing is, maybe there was. Yeah, or maybe you put a bunch of fucking eldritch shit all over your house that you weren't even sure you knew what it did. You just carved a bunch of shit all over your house and did a bunch of, like, witchcraft, and you're just kind of hoping that it works, and instead, like, Death's getting really fucking pissed off at you about it. The demons I called are being demonic. Please help. Oops. By the third week, I couldn't keep doors closed. They would slam open the moment I left the... Also, hey, you know what? Can we mention this? How long do you think you can keep this up? Like, what? Are you just going to do this for the rest of your life? It's not like Death is going to be like, oh, missed my Tuesday 3 p.m. reaping. Oh man, I was totally gonna take this guy's mother, but like, I missed the time frame. Yeah, she's still full of cancer. She's gonna become yeah, exactly. She's still loaded with Oh, I'm so full from cancer. Yum. Anyway, right. By the third week, I couldn't keep the doors closed. They would slam open the moment I left the room. A terrible scratching began inside the walls. I told my mom it might be squirrels or mice, but the sound was so insistent. Not like rodents milling about, more like a dog wanting in. I stopped leaving the house for supplies. Instead, I had what little food we ate delivered. I kept the curtains drawn. There was a tapping on the glass every night. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting one more time. Can you imagine being like the pizza guy who has to come here? And they're like, hey, we got another order for the sketchy place. And the guy's like, oh no, come on, I don't want to go there again. There's all this weird symbolism all over the house. It freaks me out. And the guy like doesn't bathe anymore, and there's like weird shit going on in his house. It smells like twice boiled poop. And his manager is just like, look, okay, we can't afford any bad reviews. Just fucking get out there, deliver the pizza. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Oh man, I wasn't even supposed to work here tonight. I'm covering for Jeff. Jeff's supposed to be. God damn it. About a month. Oh wait a minute. Was that where we were? Couldn't keep door. Yeah, okay. About a month after leaving the hospital, we were living like zombies. The dining room couldn't contain the smell of the candle anymore. The entire house was clogged with the scent. Tiny noises had graduated into full-on laughs and screams and whispers in the rooms around us. Something kicked the bathroom door so hard while I was taking a shower that the hinges warped. I covered every mirror in the house. I'd started to see things in the corner looking back at me. Half-hidden faces, shapes that skittered away as soon as I turned around. Mom was drifting further and further away. She had long moments of confusion where she'd forget my name, forget where we were. Sometimes she'd think I was my dad. Other times she'd just stare at the walls for hours, growing fainter and fainter each day like a Polaroid left in the sun. But she was alive, so it was working. God, you're stupid. I hate this guy. I hate you. God, you're stupid. God, you're dumb as fuck. Watch a horror movie at some point in your goddamn life. Pull up a free streaming service, pull up like Tubi or something, go to the horror section, find the worst piece of crap you can find, and even that will still give you a better insight than what you're doing here, buddy boy. It was clear that we were under siege by something. My world shrank to only one room, and every trip to the bathroom or to answer the door for food felt like going over the trenches. The noises kept getting worse and worse, the shadows closer, the sense of movement around the house sharper. Every now and then I would feel hot breath on the back of my neck, or walk through a cold patch hanging in the air. I stopped bothering redrawing the lines of salt around the house. I knew deep in my bones that as long as the sickly candle burned, death could not take my mom away. On the 33rd day after leaving the hospital, I woke with a start from a nightmare, only to find my mom's bed empty. She hadn't been able to walk the past week at all, so my first feeling was hope that she might be improving, at least a little. Then I noticed the odor we'd been living with for weeks was gone. Mom. Oh my god, you're right. The 303 number symbolism again. That must mean something. That must be like the witching hour. Mom, I shouted, running in bare feet out of the... Mom. I found her in the dining room, the door wide open. She was standing at the table, frail as a neglected scarecrow, bobbling back and forth. Her hands were hovering over the candle. The flame was out. Why did you do that? I whispered. Mom, are you okay? I padded into the room, the wooden floor freezing cold. My mother didn't react to my presence. She just continued rocking side to side. I realized she was still asleep. Mom? I gently shook her shoulder. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up, Joe Biden. Wake up. Wake up, Joe Biden, mommy. Anyway, God. Never again do I ever want to say the words Joe Biden, mommy. I will never say this ever again. I am once again removing it from the timeline. I hope y'all know what I'm talking about when I say wake up. That there's like a TikTok or something, and it's just like footage of Joe Biden looking really sleepy, and then a guy just going like, "Wake up, Joe Biden. Wake up. Wake up, Joe Biden." Her head snapped back, and she nearly fell. I caught her on the way down. It felt like she weighed nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. You have no idea. Okay, hold on a second. I'm gonna look it up. Is this the one?
We have a lot of other things to cover here, but I look to Dr. Sherwood. Are we moving?
Joe Biden,
Joe Biden.
wake up.
Wake up.
Joe Biden, wake up. 9/11.
Wake up, Joe Biden.
One of the things that I strongly believe is
Joe Biden,
Biden.
wake up.
Wake up.
I should probably go home. I'm tired.
Joe Biden, wake up.
Wake
Joe.
up, Joe Biden.
Joe. I'm tired.
Joe Biden,
What's happening?
Joe Biden,
What's happening? Joe.
Wake up, Joe Biden.
Hello, Mr. President. Wake up.
So yeah, it's just like this really unnerving video of just a guy saying like, "Wake up, Joe Biden. Wake up." Anyway, okay. You're right. You're right. I shouldn't have got distracted. Let's get this finished. Oh, what's going on? She asked, looking around the dark room. You're okay, I told her. You were sleepwalking. I was having the most unusual dream, Mom mumbled. There were so many stars and... Wake up, Joe Biden. Wake up. I was having the oh, right. She began to shiver uncontrollably. The cold hit me a moment later. I let out a gasp. The house was chilly before the dining room was near Arctic. My breath bloomed in a thin cloud in front of my face. I became acutely aware of the complete silence filling the house. Then I heard scratching. It was coming all throughout the house, deep tearing sounds at the walls around the dining room. Footsteps came immediately after, heavy and fast. Somewhere in the house, a window shattered. Brian, my mother said, holding on to me. Brian. My voice deserted me as a massive shadow unfolded in the corner of the room. It was shaped like a man, but tall, so very tall. And as we all know, when something is tall, that makes it scary. Nothing's ever scary if it's small. If it's short and squat, it's like not scary. Tall equals scary. And it was fast. Before I could yell, the shadow was upon us, pouring over my mother. In the space of a heartbeat, she was simply gone. No, I whispered, clawing at the dissolving shadow where my mom used to be. No. No. The shadow was disappearing like a puddle sinking into the floor. There was a texture to it, oily and too slick to hold. I thought of my mother and the night she found me lost in the woods, the night I'd run away. Her face filled my memory, her lighthouse smile. I remembered the relief I felt when she found me, the overwhelming love. I held on to that feeling, clutching it close. You can't have her, I whispered. Holy shit, this dude's obsessed. Lies. Leprechauns are scary. I guess. Like, they can be scary, but, like, But, okay, you know what? When you said leprechauns aren't scary, and I was like, I suddenly felt something brush past my arm, and I was gonna be like, what the fuck? And then I realized it's just my cat. It's just Spooky hopping up again. Somewhere a leprechaun is chuckling at me. I closed my fist around the last threads of the shadow. There was a terrible sensation of pulling. It was like I'd caught a horse by the tail and it was trying to shake me, but I held on. A sense of ripping and being dragged. It was a riptide with a mind of its own, but I held on. It could not shake me. I was so obsessed with my mom, you don't understand. The temperature was dropping every second, and I felt my vision growing dark. The last thought that ran through my head before I blacked out was a promise to myself that even if I died, my grip would hold. I wouldn't let my mother's life slip away. All sounds and light faded, narrowing to a pinprick and then going black. I woke up under a field of stars. I was lying in soft grass, still wearing my pajama bottoms and an old t-shirt. It was cool, wherever I was, but comfortably so. I stood up. There were trees all around me, tall and close, stitched together with shadows. Immediately to my right, there was a road that ran straight as far as I could see, blurring into the horizon. But the stars, they were like nothing I'd ever seen before. Bright ribbons of northern lights rippled above me in green and blue and purple. Stars lit like the sky, like millions of lanterns floating on a still ocean. The moon shone sharpest of all, a spotlight hanging above the tree line, so close I thought I could stretch up and brush its face. You are persistent, said a voice from the forest behind me. I whipped around but couldn't see anyone. Then a dark spot began to clarify against the gloom. The silhouette separated itself and moved towards me. I recognized it instantly as the shadow from the dining room. As it moved closer, the thing grew and grew until it touched the sky and filled my vision. A deep dread sank into me, but I stood my ground. Give me back my mommy! Give me back my mommy, you big bully! Give me back my mommy! I love my mommy! Give her back! Give her back! I shouted. Give me back my mom, I shouted. The silhouette pulled away from the sky, and then it was standing in front of me, the shape and size of a tall man, but instead of a shadow, the thing had wrapped itself in stars. Miniature constellations drifted across its body, floating slowly like a time-lapse of a clear night sky. Are they single? This is what I need to know. Hold on. Pause. Is the Starman single? Oh, wait. That's actually my husband. Galaxy draws that. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is one of my partner's characters, basically. Galaxy draws these starmen. Yeah, exactly. Burning brightest was the North Star, blue and warm. The space between the stars was absolute black. Not a shadow, but a complete absence of light. It was the most beautiful, terrifying thing I'd ever seen. What are you? I whispered. You know. You know, it replied. Give me back my mummy. I want my mummy. Give her back. Give her back. Give me back my mummy. Give her back. Give her back, I begged. Please, give her back. I can't. It's her time. Past her time. You delayed me. Delayed her. Wake up, Joe Biden. Anyway, I clenched my fist. She didn't get enough time. I didn't get enough time. It's not right. It's not fair. Of course it's not fair, the starry thing said. But it is right. You each have your time, and at the end of it, there's me. And there is a road, and we walk it together. Where to? I asked. Where are you taking her? I don't know. Maybe Chili's. Maybe we'll go to Outback. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. After that, maybe we'll go catch a movie or something. And then we'll go back to my place. We'll have a few drinks. We'll chat. It'll be a nice time, I promise. I'll have her back before midnight. It's all very kosher and cool. Don't worry about it. I don't know. It's not for me to know, only to know how to get there. Then I won't let you take her. I planted myself in the road. The world was still and solemn around us. The constellations drifted like clouds, and a soft breeze stirred the branches. The starry thing didn't respond for a moment. Your mother was kind and caring. Wherever she goes, she'll have peace, it promised. But the creature raised its hand. Do you ever stop to think that death isn't an enemy? Death simply is. It is the natural partner to life. It knows no prejudice or malice, has no designs or ambitions. Your mother spent so long suffering, felt so much pain. Instead of letting her rest, you took it upon herself to draw her life beyond its given course. You kept her alive, but at the cost of stretching her thin, prolonged her sickness, deluding her. Did you keep her alive for her benefit or for yours? And let's be real, you should know the answer to this, because, I mean, did you look at her? Did you look at her? She looked like a Home Depot skeleton. You got to admit, you were kind of being a dumbass who didn't think this through. If you kept her alive, she would have 100% become about as fragile and thin as a rice cracker. Your mom would be a saltine, boyo. she would break at the slightest breeze. So maybe you probably shouldn't have kept her alive because you were like, oh, I want her to live. Even though, like, what was your game plan? It wasn't going to go well. I couldn't answer. Stretching a life is unnatural, dangerous, it told me. In the weeks you kept me away, you drew the attention of old things, hungry things, forces that would like nothing better than to swallow even the memory of your mother, to tear and bite until there was nothing left but pain and fear and a perfect emptiness. I shuddered, remembered the clawing sounds and shattered window, and the laughter from the empty rooms. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You can't... Hold on. If I just Google this... Can I find just the I'm sorry? Yeah, here we go. He's just doing this. He's just, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I played with death. I shouldn't have tried to keep my mom alive. Ooh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I whispered. Can they hurt her here? Is she safe? The stars in the shadow burned brighter for a moment. Your mother won't walk her road alone. None of you do. I walk with you always to the end. Can I see her? I asked. Please, just let me say goodbye. It considered for several seconds. God, you're so fucking annoying. Anyway, you are persistent. And then the starry thing was gone. I was standing alone on an empty road. Brian. I need to... Oh, God. Am I really going to get distracted again? Hold on. I don't even know if I could look that up. There's this really bad animation out there. It's like this 3D animation. And it's like this... It's like a bad South Park render. And like a really 3D polygonal Family Guy Brian walks in. He's like, be sure to watch Family Guy. And then he gets shot. And then there's this like flat-headed Stewie that walks in. And he's just like, Brian. Dunny, focus. You're right. I'm sorry. I'll get back on it. I turned to find my mother behind me on the road. She looked younger, healthier than I'd seen her in years. The frailty was gone, and my mother seemed exactly as I remembered her when she found me in the woods all those years ago. Isn't this the most beautiful dream? She asked, staring up at the night sky. Yeah, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. A beautiful dream. I love you, Mom. I love you so much, so very much. She smiled and touched my cheek. I love you too. Don't cry. It's okay. I'll wake up any time now. I'll see you then. Oh, that's sad. I nodded, wiping at tears. Sure. Yeah, I'll see you then. What do you think is at the end of the road? She asked. Do you think I'll have time to figure it out before I wake up? I looked out at the road, scanning the trees for any hungry shadows. I don't know. I don't know where it goes, but promise me you'll be careful. My mom smiled wider. Of course I'll be careful. More careful than your stupid ass that tried to keep my ass alive. And she won't walk alone, said a familiar voice behind us both. I turned, expecting the starry thing, but the man standing on the road was entirely normal. The light from the moon was enough that I could see he had moss green eyes and bright shock of red hair. Oh, okay, so it's his dad. Such a beautiful dream, my mother said. The man came towards us and took my mother's hand. He and I looked so alike, I could see why my mother confused us when she was sick. Take care of her, I told the man. Please take care of her. Make sure she gets where she's going. There are things out there that want to hurt her. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You can tell that I'm really starting to check out because I forgot to pull up my book too. You can tell I'm really starting to check out because, like, okay, I get it. I fucking get it. The man squeezed my shoulder. She'll be safe, watched over. If the devil himself is waiting on the road, he'll move or he'll be moved. I believed him. Thoughts raced through my head. There were so many things I wanted to say, questions, a million ways to say goodbye. I wanted to stretch out the moment for as long as I could, but I realized I'd already delayed my mother enough. I love you, I told them both. Goodbye. And then they went, yeah, so see ya. See ya, loser. I woke up back in the dining room, sitting at the table, the unlit candle in front of me. The house was quiet and still. There was no more scratching, no sound or sense of life at all. I walked through every room. The house was empty. I was alone. I've spent the past couple of months working on the house, erasing the marks I'd made, fixing up the property. Some nights I take long walks out into the forest. I'm far out enough into the country that on a clear night it's like looking up at a sea of stars. I think about my parents, the most during those walks. I grieve and remember in my own way, and I wonder where their road went, if they're still traveling, or if they reached their destination. I hope their road takes them to the strange and beautiful places. When I walk at night, I look to the North Star to keep me from getting lost. Maybe they do the same. When it's full, I also look up towards the moon. I wonder if my parents had a chance to visit, to search for hidden oceans. I like to think they did, that the moon has at least one Maria, the one I love the most. Oh, okay, all right. That was, you know what? I was really kind of like checking out, but that's a really sweet line. Okay. That's very sweet. I like that. All right. That was sweet, but the middle was it kind of drags a little bit. I think that maybe could have done with a little bit of trimming down, but hey, it's still a pretty good story overall. I liked it. Oh man, we have been going for like 3.5 hours. Holy shit, I am tired. My throat hurts. So, oh man. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call it. We're gonna go ahead and be done now. Thank you everyone for coming to the stream. Thank you everybody for coming to the stream. Had a good time. I'm so tired. I'm so tired now. I've been doing so much reading. I need to get something to soothe my throat. My throat. Okay. No funny bits. No funny little goodbye bits this time. I'm just gonna sign off. Have a good night, everybody. Hope y'all. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making a hand gesture, but you can't see it. God, I'm fucking tired. Anyway, love y'all. Thanks for coming. I will see you all next week when we will do something else. I might do another stream this week. I need to stay relatively consistent to get the associate status. We're at 50 followers, so I just have to be consistent, and then we can get the associate status. So anyway, we'll see what I do. Okay, toodles for now. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.